You
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't. I threw my rod down, got me on that, gone like, who just gone, "Arr!"
No!
We
How'd
went
you
back.
get round that?
You tell me.
No, you're the guest.
I just chucked it out and it went round.
No, you didn't. That's what World Championship International Fishing's all about.
Backside, inside, toilet roll, I was that far down the list. It was unbelievable, you know what I mean? If you pulled up toilet roll to the bottom, I was inside cardboard. Welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast.
The Fishing Gurus podcast.
So you're a fan of the intro to the podcast, aren't you?
I absolutely love it.
Right, go on. Have we got one we can play,
Do you want me
Toe?
to play it?
Do it.
Watch how excited he gets. Bear in mind, this is your sister.
My little sister.
This is
bless
your
her.
little sister. Go on.
What's her name, Tobes? Neve.
Neve.
Neve,
Yeah,
it's
she-
absolutely mint from me.
I'll tell you just made her.
It's the best. It's the best part.
The Fishing Gurus podcast.
Every time
I think we should start a theme here where the guest
starts the next
the next one.
Yeah.
Can we do it?
Yeah, we could
Right, go on
actually,
then.
yeah.
Right, count him in and make Waco do an intro.
Right.
Are you ready?
Does it matter? Do you want me to do a daft voice?
I want you to do me two versions. I want you to do a daft one and I want you to do a sexy one. You ready?
Okay, here we go.
What do you want to do first, daft or
I'm
sexy?
gonna do one in a daft voice that I'd do at home to the girls,
Okay.
and they get wound up when I keep talking like it.
All right, so count him in. We'll do two versions, Tobe. You ready?
Yeah, go on, ready. 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast. the girls got absolutely mad. You're a nutter, you are. You're an absolute nutter.
That. Bear in mind, we can't say who it is, but we've got a big guest on for the next show already.
Oi, can you imagine? I can't.
You know who it is, but don't say anything.
No, I want to do an impression. I can't do it.
Right, come on. You know who the next guest is.
I do, yeah.
Don't say anything that'll give it away. Do me a welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast in his voice. This is a clue as to who's coming. Go on.
No, because he'll clip me right here.
It don't matter. You can handle it. Will have recorded his show by the time he hears this, so he ain't got a choice.
I say I don't fancy his big hand at the back of my head.
Ready? Count him in, Tobe. Count him in.
Ready. 3, 2, 1.
Now then, welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast. And for anyone who doesn't know, I think that's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
I've met said guest who's coming on next, and I have to say that was brilliant. That was pretty bang on.
It was good, wasn't
That
it?
was very, very good. I'm very
was good.
impressed.
I must say, when he finds out and listens to it, I apologise and don't hit me.
Yeah.
Well, it's in between us. Sorry. sorry, please don't hit me. That's what he does, doesn't he?
Well, this is the daftest start we've ever had to a podcast. Welcome to the show, Adam Wakelin.
Listen, it's absolutely mint to be here, you know. I love it.
Great to have you
There's
on.
only one problem,
Go on.
that it's took you 48 to get me here. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Hey, it's an endless list, though. We sat down in a meeting, Tobe, and we were like, maybe this is going to come to an end at some point. This is the back end of last year.
Yeah.
And then we started thinking about who's been on and who's not been on. There's so many still that we want to...
Okay, listen, you know, I'm only joking when I say that. It's to be on here is sound. And like I said to you before, I've watched, other than Kevin and Roddy's,
Yeah.
which I just haven't got round to doing yet, and to time. Other than that, I've watched every single one. I think they're mint.
Which is your favourite so far?
The funny thing is, there's a lot of them who have involved me as well, isn't there? You know, there's a lot of them who talk about me and obviously a bit of a character. But I reckon I love Swinnows. You know, I've known Swinno a long time. But same again, you take some out of them all. You some of the relate. Obviously, Tom is relatable to me. Stephen's relatable to me. You know, and it's great. I think it's brilliant.
I'm glad that you listened to him, mate.
No, I love it.
You've had some big news in fishing recently. We're allowed to speak about it now. When we did the research, I don't even think we even know about
because
it.
obviously when we did the research, I think I'd only found out that Sunday before.
Yeah.
I got home from all. So do you want me to talk about it?
Tell me. Tell them the big news.
So of course, we have now been picked for the freestyle, the England Feeder Freestyle.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, top man.
England team. So you're going to represent 2 different England teams in the World Champs this year.
Frightening. I don't know if it's somebody's obviously done it before. Obviously, Stephen's fishing as well.
Steve Ringer.
Ringer, yeah. Obviously, fishing 1 World Champs is mint. Fishing 2, and they're both. I think they're 4 weeks apart. I think
That's intense.
it's already started now. The prep's on.
Where are you going for the freestyle?
A big lake in Portugal, which where they had the World Club Feeders. Not sure it was last year. It might have been last year. But it's just like a massive, abroad. These waterways are vast. So now I'm really looking forward to it. And obviously, what happened we'd just been fishing. I think it was because obviously we're fishing Allcroft, aren't we? On a Sunday, and I think it was might have been the last, not the pairs just gone, the pairs before. I just got home, just unloading the gear, getting ready for work, and obviously phone rung and it was TP.
Tommy Pickering.
I want you, pal.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. Yeah.
And what did you say? I'm in.
You don't need to ask. I'm there. He, when you get that sort of phone call, it's special, isn't it? So,
big time. And what about the actual normal feeder world champs? Let's say the standard one that you've been a part of for a while. Where's that this coming year?
That's Lithuania. So,
got some travelling ads, haven't you?
I mean, when you look at it, I think that's. I always put everything on my wall planner in my office. I think we fish Lithuania first week of June, or no, it's the second. We go that week, but it's the second weekend in June, the World Champs, and then I think we're back 3 weekends, and with Portugal. And Portugal's obviously Lithuania's a long way, and Portugal's just as far, I'd say. It's right down the bottom right at the bottom of Portugal.
For people listening who might not understand, obviously you're being picked for 2 different England teams that fish in 2 different world champs. What's the difference between the 2 for people listening?
So, in a nutshell, obviously, when the feeder first come about, it was... and obviously, we fish a lot of England matches now to FIPSED international rules, i.e. Feedermasters, pairs at Allcroft.
Yeah,
You've got to fish with a 50 centimetre hook length. So basically, the freestyle sort of is complete opposite. So we're going from fishing. You've got to be fishing a 50 centimetre hook length below your feeder. To freestyle is the maximum you can fish. I'm not too sure because I'd still need to do a bit of dressing up on the rules. But I think there's a maximum. So basically, you're basically fishing with a method feeder. It's got to be flat. I think the feeder's got to be flat. Even the baiting up feeder's got to be flat. So it's 2 completely different things. And I think bait limits are different. Like live, I think there's half a litre. You can only have half a litre of live baits, i.e. maggots. So it's based around pellets and ground bait, corn. Obviously, corn and hemp is in with your ground bait, same as it is in every.
You can air rig in that one as well, can't you?
Yeah. So obviously, it's basically, in a nutshell, it's other than your sort of UK, the similarities are UK style hybrid method feeder fishing.
And who's the team for this freestyle one at the minute? Obviously, you've been picked. Steve Ringer's been picked.
Phil Ringer, captain.
Phil's the captain.
I've known Phil. He's brilliant, really.
We should get Phil on a podcast.
He'd have some stories.
We should get him on.
He'd have some stories, definitely.
Write it down, Tobes.
Yeah, it's in the diary.
Get him down. Captain Phil, Stephen, me, pen writing, newcomer.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's for those that know Pen or watch him and follow him. Obviously, he works with. I work alongside him at Daiwa. He's putting a lot of time in at the moment, a lot of effort. Because obviously that's what he wants to do. And then finishes up with regulars Wayne Bart and Alex Doherty.
Wayne Bartholomew. Yeah.
and young Alex from Lindholm. So incredible team, really.
Great achievement, Adam. That 2 England teams. Not spoke to anyone, I don't think, on the podcast that's done it. 2 world champs, different ones in the same year, in such a close space. That is intense, and it's an achievement just getting picked for both of them.
There's it's and what will come. There's a lot of preparation involved. Obviously, you know more than anybody, as much as all of us. You've got to look at it, and you've got to be in focus, and you've got to be on top of your game. You've got to have things in place.
Talking about like sort of being on top of your game, and you having this ridiculously busy schedule, not even touching on your UK fishing. Do you think that there is a prime age or a prime time that a match angler that's highly competitive comes into the best period? Do you think that's a thing?
Yeah, definitely. Because you don't know everything early. Although now you can access stuff instantly because that's what media's done. Media's sort of gave people opportunities. Only this week I was with a bloke. I took a bloke fishing. He'd only been fishing 2 years. Awesome. Knew everything. Just from Facebook, YouTube, watching people. So prime time, this is my opinion. I think 30 to 50. That's my opinion. If you get it any earlier, you're unbeatable. Which some do, some are now. But when you look at people that are still winning, I always look back at Bob Nudd. Incredible, absolutely incredible. If you end up, I think if I could still do what I'm doing now in another 7 years, I'll be happy.
How old are you now, Adam?
43.
Right.
I think now is prime time. But life's good, fishing's good. I've done X amount of years to get. You know what I mean? Everything's when everything's good and your life's settled outside of fishing, then I think you've got the knowledge and you're fishing well and you're doing numerous things. I think you've got they're the prime times.
Are you a full-time angler?
No, but everybody thinks I am.
Do you get asked that question a lot?
Yeah, loads. There's loads. There's loads. Oh, you're full time. I love it because, of course, you sit down and look at rear day off and a match for the full timers. There's a lot of that going on at the moment because, listen, there's more people fishing in the week now than there ever was. Ever. I can't, and we'll go into it. We used to work a 4-day week. And felt privileged that we used to have Fridays off.
So what do you do now? How often do you get fishing now? Because I see you on Facebook, silverfish festivals in the week, qualifiers here and there. You fish both days, most weekends, Adam. Are you you must be.
We've got to remember as well. We're talking about 30 years. And for those that, most people might know, most people might not, but I suppose it'll be a good way to start. I've been a minimum of twice. More likely 3 times. Every year, every week for 30 years.
Fishing
for 30 years.
Match fishing,
matches. 3 times a week for 30 years.
And surely that is what gets you into the prime period we're talking about, between 30, 40, 45.
Yeah, because when you dress across 30 years, you've done some things, you've been some places. The only time, and we joked about this when we met last week, and it's so true. And I think other people relate to it. When me and Lindsay got married, we got married on I made her get married on a Thursday.
Why?
Because UK champs were Wednesday and I was on a festival Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We got married on a Thursday. I can remember we were at Lindholm at UK champs. Obviously I lived out there at that time. We got married in Woodall Spa. So we basically fished the UK champs, drove straight to the where was it? Petwood Hotel in Woodall Spa. Everybody come. You know, there was probably 5 or 6 7 people from the UK champs that were invited to the wedding. We just went straight there and got straight on the sup when we got back. But so in a nutshell, yeah, it's massive. It's massive. It's a massive part.
So what else do you do for people listening? You know, there's this persona that you just go fishing all the time. You fish midweek. You must spend days of your midweek prepping for your matches. What else do you actually do, and how full is your time with other commitments aside from fishing?
I have to. So I've got my own company at the moment. Obviously, I'm a ductwork engineer.
For someone who knows nothing about that style of...
So basically, it's ventilation. So supplying extract into a building. Basically, what we're in now, I said to you earlier, this sort of build, what Guru HQ is here, this is like 50% of my work. The other 50% is like student flats, student accommodations. So it's massive, but what brought it home to me was I can't do what I want to do in fishing employed. Because, and there's nothing wrong with that, employment gives you 20 days holiday. 20 days don't definitely don't cover me international this year because I'm fishing too, but it weren't right for me. So I had to make some changes, which is what I did.
And how did you go about that?
I was very fortunate to be because I worked with Jay Lebowski for a long time. Great bloke.
Lovely man.
Yeah, he is. He's great. And he sort of took me under his wing, showed me the ropes. Obviously, he's quite a bit older than me. So they come to a point where he went in the office. We used to subcontract to a company called Salamander, who I still do now. Brilliant organisation. And when he got to a point, because obviously it's physical. It's graft. There's no doubt about it. It's graft. You know, you throw in metal ductwork around at the rate of knots, because obviously that's how, you know, it's all price work. That's how you make your money. You get paid for what you do. Not how long you're there, which is obviously that's price work. And he got me to a point where he was taking the the physical side of it, because it don't last forever. You can't keep going the way you're doing. You know, how I look at the pace we've got now, it's unsustainable, because you'd end up in a grave. So he went and worked in the office. He went direct to the company who was subcontract to. This was only 5-6 years ago, and obviously I had a big decision, and in effect, it was not the big decision because obviously I needed to find somebody else to carry on the way I wanted to go work-wise. So Jay went in the office, I went alone, I set up my new company. Obviously I carried on sole trading for X amount of time, set up my company, but what it did, I'd got to that point in my life where I was able to do that. So now I've got a team. I've got two permanent lads who work with me, both brilliant, Ben and Harry. And obviously, when I need to, I've got other people that come and help me, that I phone up and help me. But this point in my life now, I can, as long as I'm on top of the game and I know what I'm doing, then I can put myself right for weeks before. You know, I've got to work in advance. Go on.
You know, like, I listened to that though, and you make it sound very easy. I'm going to go work for myself. I'm going to get a couple of lads. I'm going to work 3 days a week and go fishing a little bit more. Clearly, that must come with some risks. You taking some gambles
of course
to do that.
Yeah,
some stress.
And of course, the other thing is what you're just saying there. That's not every week. So what it allows me to do is we can work like mad for a week. Because, of course, the other problem is what most people don't realise, and this is massive. I can't, it's very rare I can't. So stay like festivals, you'll look at, it won't be like I'm fishing that festival because I won't know the week before. I won't know what's happening because in the building trade, you're reliant on other people. Right? If somebody don't do something and the chain don't marry up, you've shot it. So a lot of the time, these sort of festivals, stuff that we do, I don't know whether I'm going or not till, the only thing I can plan my hardest is the very, very important world champs. Stuff like that. But other than that, if somebody throws a spanner and it works, mind the pod and the pun, if somebody does that, I ain't going. Because work's more important. And that's the be all and end all is if you ain't got work, you ain't got money, you don't go fishing. Simple as that. So
you've pretty much, by the sound of things, little bit later in your life, manufactured your work in a way, taking risks, taking gambles, but it's paying off.
It's
to allow you to go fishing more.
It's the only way to do it. It's the only way I could do the fishing I want to do. As I said, you're employed, you're 20 days plus your bank holidays. Self-employment is great. But the model of the self-employment is what you make it and how good you are at managing it.
How does it make you feel when someone says, it's all right for them, they just go fishing all the time?
Yeah, but they wouldn't know what I've been through for the last... You know what I mean? And when we sit down and, I'd happily tell anybody what basically do. I try, as it stands at the moment, like I said, price work, it depends how good you are at your job. If you're mint at your job... I don't know, say I price something that's 5 days, I get it done in 3 days, I still get I get the 5 days money and get 2 days grace. That's because I've been taught well by Jailer B. And that's you can that sort of game you can plod at it, but my drive is fishing. If I get this done in 3 days, I can go fishing 2 days. Then that turns into a 3-day working week, 4-day fishing week. The job's done. The job's done to a mint standard. But that's my drive.
You bending over backwards for your work allows the fishing.
Of course it does, because as you've already said, I go fishing a lot. There's no doubt about it. But I've, like you said, I've manufactured work around fishing because, listen, and I say this to a few people, do you really think... Listen, I love my job. Everybody knows me. Site work is incredible. There'll be people watching this that are on sites day in, day out. Chippies, sparkies, boarders, I don't know, ground workers. It's a barrel. It's hard work, but the camaraderie, is that the word? Yeah, that's
camaraderie.
The word. Camaraderie.
Let's change it to camaraderie.
Camaraderie,
like
yeah, it's a new word. I love making new words up. That it's great, and I'm that sort of person. Walking around taking mick out of people.
I didn't know you were like that, Adam.
And everyone's like, you can always tell, oh, Waco's here again. Singing me head off, got radio on and all that. So, it's a but realistically, when did I really want to be fitting pipe? Is that the game? Is that the job I want to do? The answer is no.
Let me ask you something then. There's people listening to this podcast now. They work 5 days a week. They work hard. They also love fishing. They feel like they may be good enough to make the next step. They want to go fishing more. What is the first step into being able to go fishing more for a bunny rabbit ears normal person?
It's very hard because the other thing is, people don't. It's same as everything. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. There's a lot of people, a lot of my friends and that, they love the fact that they clock in at 9, they clock out at 5. There's nothing wrong with that. I ain't got a problem with that. But that's not for Adam Wakelin. So to answer your question is, there's a lot of factors affecting that. Because, of course, family's a massive thing. You know, there's... I can imagine that, like, some full-time anglers that I do know, they're getting up to go fishing, the partner's getting up to go to work. There's times when I'm going fishing and Lindsay's going out the house to go and, Lindsay works for NHS, going out to look after somebody. Lindsay's mint and understands everything. And not everybody's wife would do, I would imagine. So there's all that to come into it. There's only one way that you can do that, and that's work for yourself. But not everybody wants to do that. And not everybody's been brought up like that, or it's just life, isn't it? If everybody's, I know, and I always say this quite openly, everybody has choices in life. I made mine.
Do you think it's possible to make a good living from just going match fishing?
No.
Why?
Because it depends how good a living you want, I think. Especially now, because it's diluted, isn't it? You look at the people who do go fishing in the tackle trade that are sponsored.
Give me some examples.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Des
shit.
Big Alan Scoffhorn. All them. They're at a period in their life where they've done their work and they're getting paid to go fishing. The amount, how can I put this? The amount that they're getting paid by the companies, which I don't know, but we can imagine, is a wage. Can you earn that just from fishing? No. The answer is no.
And you're talking about, you just named 3 people.
Yeah.
In the world of fishing.
That's right. And listen, there's probably an handful.
Yeah.
I've missed some people.
There might be 6, 7.
There's an yeah.
Will Raisin, Jamie Hughes, Andy May.
Will, yeah. But then there's now hundreds that are trying to. And that excuse me, that ain't for me, because it's too much of a gamble. I like a nice life. I like nice things. You can't do that winning fishing matches, especially now, because it's too dilute. There's way too much going on, which is why at the moment my work/fishing life, I think there's a good balance.
I think you're in your prime right at the moment. I don't know if you'd be comfy saying that on sat there in front of us now, because it's but I think you win an awful lot of matches. You're fishing for 2 international teams. You fish regular. Your results are second to none. I think you're right in your prime, and you're right in that age bracket that you mentioned at the start of the show. What I'd ask you, as someone who I'm respecting has been right in the midst of being brilliant at the moment, is what's your perception of the young good anglers that are out there now? There's this little gang or bracket of people coming through that they're perceived in the media as being amazing. They're going fishing all the time. They're definitely winning a lot. What's your perception on that grouping that's sort of coming through, probably behind when you come through, I'm going to say?
Yeah, but obviously they're behind you, aren't they? Because you were sort of... I think my age is the last of the big amounts. You're obviously 8, 9, 10 years younger than me, and they're even younger than you. And we had this conversation where me and you spoke about it. You forget how young. I forget sometimes how young people are. You go and you sit there, and I sit next to you, and you're like, you'll have my pants down, you'll batter me, and I'm like, what a git. But then I sit there and I think, and regardless of what everybody says, age is massive. Reactions, eyesight, you talk to people. Well, I've got our glasses now. I've worn glasses for 20 odd years. I wear contact lenses now fishing.
Do you think that's a disadvantage?
When you're at a later age, when you're at latter stages in, yeah, of course it is. It's massive. It's massive. You know, I can always remember, just skipping the subject a minute, I can remember being on a winter league at Tunnel Barn Farm 10, 12 years ago. And it was one of them humid days, you know, where you get wrapped up, you got loads of clothes on.
Yeah.
And it started raining. And I can always remember, I got my specs on.
I can see where this is,
Yeah,
I can see where this is going.
So I'm wrapped up, it's red hot. Top us up, champ. It's absolutely red hot, warm, getting sweaty, and all of a sudden, and I was on extension, can remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm getting one a chuck, and then I spent next hour wiping my glasses every 2 minutes. And I've got the absolute rage on, do you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to catch these F1s, my float's dotted down to a puddle, and I can always remember, I got straight home, and I'm one of three. My middle brother, I've gone to him, and my middle brother's one of them that is a teacher now. He's one of them that always, if O comes out or he wants to be the first at it, and I can remember he was the first on like contact lenses when they first come out, and I got straight home that day. I can remember it. I phoned him up and I said, "What's crack with these?" And he went, "Look, it's a bit awkward. You have to put them in your eye." And you're like, "Ooh, no, I don't want to touch my eyes." And it was the best thing I've ever done. Like I've got wearing contact lenses now because it is quite bad. I wear glasses driving.
What's your prescription?
-2,
Right.
both eyes.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
No, but obviously when you talk about float fishing, Toby, you know, I got the right rage on about these glasses.
Yeah.
So contact lenses was a massive thing for me. And I sit and tell everybody. The other thing is like when you're wearing sunglasses. You know what I mean? When you've got contact lenses and you put sunglasses on, it's sound. You've got to buy a pair of prescription sunglasses if you want to wear sunglasses with glasses. So that was a massive thing. So anyway, that's we've divulged from it. Young anglers today are incredible, is the word, I think. They're very good. The commitment's very good. They ride round all the venues. There's all these midweek festivals. They take them to bits. Can't fault them. If they can do that, they don't, you know, I don't know the background of all of them, but I'm not really interested, if I'm honest with you. If they can ride round and go fishing every day and, as we say, live the dream, fair play to them. But at some point, which I found out, you've got to grow up at some point. What point that is? Some might never. Some might just carry on fishing. And
when you say you found out, obviously you're dwelling a little bit on your own experience there. What's your background that makes you say that? What did you do? And
I was the same when I was that age. I was the same. I loved it.
What were the early days like for you? Early days of sort of fishing, employment. You know, what journey did you go on to get to where you are now?
Well, it took me. It didn't take me. Well, no, it did take me a long time to realise that, like I've already said, unless you're very, very fortunate, you can't live the dream all your life. As we, you know, let's call it living the dream, going fishing all the time. You can't do it because it's not reality. And it took me a long time to realise that.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Where do you want to start?
Well, obviously, I know that you made a move where you had to sort of relocate. You spent a long time in a different part of the country.
I've been to quite a few. I've lived. Obviously, most people know. Obviously, I moved down Whiteacres when I was younger. Bearing in mind, up until then, I was at college, and basically doing everything I could to avoid going to work. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm preaching about it, but realistically, it's a life experience.
Which is why I think it's good coming from you.
No, because I can talk about it. I can talk about. You know, I'm a grown bloke now. I can talk about it quite easily. But when I look back, that's what I was trying to do. I was work dodging. No doubt about it. So obviously, you know, for example, Whiteacres, I moved down there for a relationship. Clint offered me a job this was off the back of me doing fishery studies at college. So I moved down there, and I moved down there with Andy Dare. This particular time, I spoke to him yesterday. As it happens, he's mint. You know that him and Kim moved down there at the same time when I moved down there, so it all went well. So I lived with him for a year till we bought an house, and it was great. You know, working down there was brilliant.
How old were you at the time then, Adam?
I'm 43 now, and I was 20-ish. Yeah, it was 20 years ago, I reckon. Which obviously doesn't seem like 2 minutes. You know, doesn't seem 2 minutes ago. But it was great. You know, going down and going to, because being in mind, I just started going down as well.
What,
festivals?
fishing?
Yeah. So like sort of 2000, and I think I moved down there 2003, 2001, 2002. I just started fishing festivals down there. So I was like, and I, the party life's mint. There's no doubt about that. Nuki, what a place. What wouldn't you love about going fishing all the time and going to Nuki? Because regardless of what time of year Nuki is, although winter time's a bit like, you know, it's tourist. But in summer, what a place. 20 years old.
What were your lifestyle like? What was a typical week? That first year that you moved down there, what were a typical week? Work, fishing, party life? It were
ridiculous. That you know, you got to remember why, and it still is now, because obviously I still go down there now. But back in them days, the shot was chaos. The shot was chaos.
Tackle shot.
Yeah, the fishing lodge at Whiteacres was absolute chaos. You know, it took a ridiculous amount of money. We all had a great time. I loved working with the people down there. You know, Ben Goldrin, Big Jamie, Carl, Clint, Kirsty. You know, we did have some mega times as a group as well, not just working outside of work. But the other fact was everybody went on holiday there, who obviously knew me, because I was 20, so started fishing when I was 13. So 7-8 years of people I knew who went down there on holiday. So it'd be like, come on, we're off out. We're coming into Nuki. My willpower's zero. Even it's not that good now. so you can imagine what it was like.
Toby said, "Do you fancy a Guinness?"
Get it here now. Get it here now. I've got a bit there, frothy coffee, a little bit. It looks like a Guinness glass. So it was a permanent holiday. It weren't real. It weren't real life.
And how did it progress? How did it move on? The dream job, the dream lifestyle.
Listen, I've got absolutely no regrets. It was a time in my life where, what I've just said to you, I wanted to live the dream. I wanted to go fishing. I wanted to work in the industry. I wanted to put myself in a position where all those things, because realistically, let's be honest, it was graft. It was serious work, but it weren't manual. Apart from weighing people in and umping ground bait about and boxes of pellets and all, it weren't. But the fact remained is that the monetary value of it ended up not being. It weren't right, because it's down there. I always think that. Basically, Cornwall's I'll tell you what always used to throw me about Cornwall. I obviously got to know quite a few young people throughout living down there and that, and basically every single one wanted to move away when they got to the age. It was like they didn't want to be there. And obviously you talk, over the years you talk to people that like moving down Cornwall, like Andy and Kim did, but Andy, that's what that part of their life. But everybody who was young wanted to get out of there. Because they wanted, what's the word? They wanted careers. And because it was a tourism place, unless you were very wealthy or a doctor or, whatever you want an highly respectable job, the money weren't there.
And how did it progress? How did it progress for you? What effect did it have on your fishing? working at Whiteacres, working in the shop, being on the fishery all the time. There must have been some positives come out of that.
Yeah, no, you got to remember as well. A lot of things happen down there that fishing techniques. Like pellet waggler. You look back at that pellet feeder fishing, pace fishing, 8 mil, hard 8 mils on poles. That was down there. But and on art, I think my fishing went down the pan.
Really?
Because I got, I'll tell you what happened. We used to fish, and bear in mind, I always fished Tuesday and Sunday, because Saturdays was a changeover day. People coming, going, so it was mega busy, and obviously in the tourism sector, shall we say, recreational, obviously Saturday's a massive day, so could never, I had to work a Saturday. So we always used to go Guinea on a Tuesday and a Sunday, and obviously Tuesdays would be when the newcomers had come down, they'd all book on, and a lot of them would be there for 1 or 2 weeks, or they'd come on the Saturday, we'd fish Sunday, Tuesday. Sunday, they'd come on Saturday, they'd obviously book on Guinea Tuesday, then Sunday, then we'd go Guinea Tuesday as well. And I just found myself in a rut. I'd get the same rig out, one for down the edge on pace, one for throwing in 8 mils on the clunk line.
What's the clunk line?
The clunk line.
This is a Wakelin saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just mint, in it. You just throw some pellets in, you float like that, and it just go clunk. and it's everybody calls it in now, don't they? Everybody
Clunk
calls
line.
it clunk line.
We're talking about the 5 metre.
5 metre, 6 metre line.
Yeah.
So and obviously at that time, I was fishing with short. It was like when they used to call them short stops. It's basically a short kit. What we use now, Preston Innovations did what they called a short stop, a 1-piece section. I just used to leave them in the tube with the rig on.
But do you think that mindset of doing the same thing is what was a bad thing for your fishing?
Yeah, because the variation weren't there. The variation weren't there. I've got 3 pints of 8 mils on my tray, a big ball of paste, and some hemp and old maggots out at tackle shop for feeding down edge. That was what I did. That was what I did twice every week for 5 years, pretty much.
And how much did you used to use the fishing to win money down there? Was it an important
No, it was
thing?
massive. No, it was massive. It was massive because you got to remember, like I said to you, I think back then I was earning, I don't know, 20 grand, I think. Which there's nothing wrong with that, but like I just said to you, the lifestyle that was down there weren't enough. So Guinea on a Tuesday and a Sunday was a means of going out, a means of having treats, because basically my wages paid for.
And did it get to a point where you could guarantee winning some money pretty much?
Yeah, because obviously, but it's same as anything. If you go to one venue all the time, you know how it changes. I always think back to, just skipping the thing, I always think back when we used to go tunnel. The people who spent in the week at Tunnel Barn, they knew when it went from meat to pellets. They knew when it went from pellets to worms, because they're in the week. And what happens then is they're an hour before you sorted it out, and that were no different. There was an odd bit of shallow fishing, odd bit of fishing up to islands. Guinea was. I can't remember. Did you ever go?
Yeah, Banjo Bank.
That's it, Banjo Bank, shoving a poly ball up against the rushes there. There's one or two pegs like that. Other than that, to win, the winning method was all same as a lot of these places down the edge, or short.
And how did you get out of that, or when did you realise that maybe this is not having a good effect onto my fishing, and how did you get away from Cornwall? What did you do next?
No, so basically it just the relationship ended. I tried to stay down there, but financially I couldn't. And that was it. Come back home.
And what were the next move from there? In terms of what you did for work, what you did for your fishing?
I went to do some work. Just before that, before I went down there, I did a bit of work with Jay.
Yeah.
And as a monetary, you know, as just a wage really. And obviously, when that come about, I can remember saying to him, "Look, I've got to go. I need to give this a go. I need to give this a go." And he's like, "Yeah, Sam." And basically, when I come back, I tried a few things, you know, but then I realised you've got to get a job. You've got to, you know, at that point I'm 25, 26. And basically, I'd realised that I needed a career, but not a, should we say, probably not a Mickey Mouse career. You know, something proper. And I went back to Jay. He welcomed me with open arms. Whether he regretted it or not, I don't know. But and that was it. I said, Jay, I want to come back. Teach me. Teach me. I need to sort myself out. And that's what happened. That's where we are today. Yeah.
And what about your fishing? Because obviously I know the Part D Masters, £25,000. You won that around that time, just after you'd been living at Whiteacres.
Yeah, I come back the February 2008. Obviously started back work with Jay and went straight back down there again in October for the October Festival. And I can remember as well. It's funny how things happened. I just got a car, another car. I think it were a Vauxhall Vectra estate.
Yeah.
And I went and picked it up for 2 weeks. Obviously, they used to do the Maver Festival, then the Potdean. So I went and picked it up and thought everything was good, loaded up. I thought I'd best swing by on Saturday, go and give Lindsay a kiss. On my way down to
just a kiss,
yeah, just a kiss. Yeah. No, that's all. You know what I mean? That's all. That's all. Halfway down M69, it's gone. I'm like, got hold of checking L-Arctic car. Turbo had gone, and I'm like, you're kidding me. So bearing in mind, all you got to remember is Saturday. In my head, I'm loading the van. I'm swinging by Coventry, giving Lindsay a kiss. I'm getting down Whiteacres because we're out on the sup on Saturday night. We're out Saturday night. I'm going. So this happened to the car, and I'm like, anyway, I spun round, phoned my mum up. She's like, "Don't worry, we'll sort your van out." So in the time, bearing in mind it only did 30 mile an hour, so I'm on M69, 50 odd mile away from home. I'm doing 30 mile an hour getting home down M1, which obviously that's bad, innit? I never got pulled up, but I was like, I hope nobody catches me. Like, I hope no coppers see me. I hope this, because obviously I want to get home, because otherwise they pull you over and get you relayed back. So I ended up I tell you what I did. I can remember I come off at junction 21 and went down the A46 because I thought I got less chance of getting. You know what I mean? Mum and Dad got me a tranny. I pulled up at home, white transit vans on drive. In my head, I've got to get down there. Saturday night, we're all down there. Some of them are already there, which obviously wound you up even more because it was always a battle of who got there first. So I've got in this tranny and I'm driving down and I've had to bypass Lindsay. Sorry. And I said on the way, we took the car back to the dealer and I threw the keys at him. I can remember, and I said, just make sure that money's back in that bank. I'm off, like, and we also build him for the tranny. And that was the start of the week, really. And it's funny how stuff like that happens. I had an average week, I think. I'm not too sure where I come in festival. It didn't really matter though, you know, if you had a brilliant, you know, there's people that have done the double, done the festival and the final at the same time. I can always remember when Neil Machin did it. You know, it was like blew you away. You know, and I think there's been a couple. I'm not too sure if Lee didn't do it.
Lee did it.
Keza, he
when
did.
he won.
He did.
Lee Carey did it.
You know, that is when it's written.
Yeah.
So I don't even think I don't know where I was in thing, but obviously I drew the far bank of Jenny's.
This is in the Party Masters final.
In the Party final.
25 grand up for grabs.
And obviously everyone's like 16 and 17, 18, 5, 4 and 5 have got some form. And I remember leading up obviously I'm 99% sure nobody had ever won with Crassios. I'm 99% sure. Like when I think, can't remember who won it a year before. Tommy was around that area, I think 2005 maybe. Tommy, Bomb and Meat, the carp, and I drew in the gap opposite because them Crassios always lived in 7 and 8, always. And I drew in the gap opposite him, which was about like one off the island, 43-ish, I reckon, 44. Can't remember the peg. But they always sat in that area vicinity. And same old thing. You think you've got a chance. Well, at that point, I reckon it was I reckon it might have been the first year it was double banked. Might have been. Not saying it was, but might have been the first. Because obviously they used to just all go down one bank. And then the spectators could all be on the far bank. Yeah, I think it probably was the first year I reckon they double banked it. So obviously nobody knew. And I thought... And at that time, you got to remember, and we spoke about this when you come, there were none of this, there were no jiggers, there were no slapping, there were no flicking, mugging, overshotting, splashing, tapping, whatever you want to call it. You were fishing for them proper. And that year or the year before that, we'd qualified for me and Andy had qualified for the Maver Pairs. Andy Dare.
Yeah.
He was on Twin Oaks and I was on 14 or 15 on Python, as Python used to be before obviously they did the alterations with it. And I won the match with 106. I can always remember it because my dad were with me. My mum and dad come down to see us. And I won with 160 something pound of Crassios on pellets.
Shallow.
Fishing nice, proper. And I learned, because I'd been down there a long time, they were not, well, you know what they're like on the continent. They're an absolute git to catch.
Little bastards is probably the best way to describe it.
Well, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah.
I thought I'd let you break them swear mould.
Okay.
So I got it in my head, I knew. And the bulk of it was, same as anything, you got to fish really fine. You'd almost got to sacrifice a carp because you got to fish that fine for these fish.
What do you call fine? Tell me diameters.
I was like,
tell me hooks.
I can remember the rig. I can remember the rig.
Go on.
I was fishing 012 main.
Mainline.
012. And I got a piece, a Preston PB pink on, or a PC. It was an inline dibber.
Yeah.
Can you remember it?
Yeah.
It was like this, and it was one that went in through the top.
Yeah.
And then we was fishing 010.
Hook lamb.
Yeah. Bearing in mind this is October time.
What was the hook?
I fished a GP 107, which was a Gamakatsu eyed pattern. You know it?
Is it the lightweight one?
Yeah, it's like a Gamma Black.
Yeah,
it's
like a squarish
That's
hook.
it.
Geldart used to use them a lot.
No, because obviously I stay with Geldart. I spent 5 years of my life with Geldart.
I know the hook.
One of them. Light as anything.
What, in what, an 18?
18, tiny hook. And you'd always got to put, looking back, I should have props fished 4 mils. But it didn't have the same noise when you were firing them in. And I can always remember you got to have the dumpy 6 mil on the hook. I was real anal about that. I'm still like it now.
What do you call a dumpy 6
mil?
Like
you get the barrel ones, and then you get the dumpies, wouldn't you? You know, if you'll get a bag of 6 mil pellets out now, or it was at the time, you've got the barrelers, I call them the bowlers.
What's that, the longer ones? Yeah.
I hate them.
Yeah. Feel like your hook's never going to go
No,
in,
that's
don't
right. That's
you?
right.
Yeah.
Listen, it's all mentally. It probably makes no difference because if you fished a bomb, you'd always go for the biggest one, wouldn't you?
Probably, yeah.
Well, that's what you do. If you're chucking bomb and pellet, you pick the biggest pellet out. So I got this. So that was the rig, and the main thing was there was two main things, and this is what brought it home to me. And it was ever so funny. That day I sort of sat right on the right of the pellet because it got me more in the gap. Listen, only by that much, but in your head it's like advantage that is. And it's the same with the and I do it now. The Carrassios rely on noise. That's what I learned. And the reason I learned that was because outside the tackle shop there's two stock ponds outside Whiteacres tackle shop. As you come out of the shop, turn right, there's two stock ponds there, isn't there? One of my daily jobs was feeding them, full of Carrassios it were. And I used to lean on fence when I was doing a bit of skiving with a bucket full of 6 mils, throwing them and watching them. Because obviously it was quite clear, because that's how the water, we had all the water running through it. And what they do, they could come from nowhere. You throw some in and they'll all of a sudden appear. And when a Carrassio comes up for a pellet, it hits it 100 mile an hour. It's frightening. It's like, and I learned it's noise orientated, and I do it now whenever we fish for him, and I do it in this. Well, I'm telling everybody now, but it's definitely fact. I needed to make sure on that final, mine were the first pellets on the water. That was my first job. And I can remember, I don't know, 4 minutes to go before the start, my pellets were in my catapult. They were there, ready.
You felt it was that important.
No, it is that important. It happens now, when we go down there now. When we're fishing them on corn. That's my first job. I need to beat anybody else. Don't matter if they don't land anywhere near where I'm fishing.
You need the noise in your peg.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive.
This is interesting.
It's massive. That was it. And I still believe to this day that was a counting factor to the PD.
Park Dean.
Yeah.
So when the hooter goes, you go bang.
Straight away.
Bang.
It's ready. The patch is back at my belly, ready. It's that important. And like I said, it don't matter. Well, it's important because now we're all thrashing water to a standstill, aren't we?
Slapping. What when you were referencing? I've got to ask you about this because it gets talked about a lot, and I respect your opinion on it. You mentioned then, there were no tapping, jigging, slapping, mugging, overshotted rigs. You had to fish for them properly, and properly is the word that you use. And you referenced it, when it were proper fishing.
Yeah.
This is an ongoing thing. What's your perception on proper fishing as opposed to slapping, jigging, tapping, overshotted rigs?
Just before we touch on that, and this is quite important as well. That point after that final, because I used to help Steve Saunders quite a bit with KC.
Yeah.
There's quite a few patterns that obviously I've been involved with at the time. Which is floats. Floats, yeah, so floats. And the KC carpers, because obviously we used to sell hundreds of them down there. That's, I think, I'm 99% sure it sort of put the KC brand on the map at Whiteacres. And I can always remember talking to him afterwards about this noise scenario, and that's where the KC slap came from.
Yeah.
So basically the slap was a KC shelf without the bristle.
Yeah.
That's what a slap was, in line. So that's just skipping that thing. But obviously that was how important the noise was.
They developed a float for it.
Yeah, it sort of, it was right, because obviously, like you've just said now, all these methods revolve around noise. What do I think about it? I think
because you've been in the era where they didn't exist. You've won a 25 grand final fishing properly for them. What's your perception on it?
I'm all for catching fish. Somebody taught me a long time ago, as long as it isn't detrimental to the fish yourself, run with it. I hate bans. I think some of the best fisheries that are in the country now don't have any bans. Don't have limits, don't have bans. I think limits are in place for when people are taking the Michael, and you do need limits. But regarding methods, that's my opinion. Unless it's detrimental to you, the fisherman, or detrimental to the fish, run with it. You know, a lot of them, you know, you hear it, it's unskillful, it's this, it's that, it's the other. The same kids win on it all the time. So there's an act to anything. You refine it. You know, obviously a lot of people we talk about, they mint at it. They're absolutely fantastic. Could you beat them? Yeah. Because it's same as anything. If you go and you put the work in to get to learn something, then you're refining it and you want to win. And I think that's my honest opinion. There's a lot of bad press about it. There's a lot of people who don't do it. Don't do it. If you don't like it, don't go. I'm a massive believer in that. Like I've already spoke about, everybody's got choice in life. If you don't like it, don't go. Don't do it. So it's just another string to your bow. It's another method. It'll fade out because they'll find some other way of catching them better. But that's what's happening. Anglers now and angling ability is incredible. You've only got to look who we're surrounded by. And when you get that good at something, you've refined, you've been through every scenario. But that's all that'll happen. It'll just disappear. And there'll be another way to catch them.
It's almost like the evolution of fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
It is a stage of evolution.
Because you've got some incredible inventors. When you look back over the years, you've got people that have invented, there's certain things in fishing. Where would you be now without it?
Banding a caster.
Who did that first?
Sandra Scawthorne.
There you go. Sandra, congratulations. It's incredible, isn't it? Puller kits. Where would you be without a puller kit now?
Lost.
I seen where they put these old on Facebook. There's a page in there. Where they like put old results and that on. I saw one the other day. Paul Boothby at Larford with 11 metres apart. Do you see it?
Yeah.
I was howling.
That's what we used to do every week.
Yeah.
Landing carp on top 5.
Yeah. Standing up. You'd be shouting. If that were now, you'd be shouting, "Sit down, you clown." That's what I'd be shouting now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, people are inventing, people are moving fishing on, and all that'll happen, this flashing water to a foam will finish. But the fact remains is, if it was just that and no feeding, I'd be against it.
Why?
Because that's then not fishing, in my opinion.
You think feeding's a big part?
Of course it is. But then we get into the detrimental to fish. So if you're not feeding them, they're not eating. They're not eating, they're not growing.
Everyone sat around the lake tapping water, no bait going in.
Yeah. What good's that? If that were my fishery, you'd be like, no.
Get some bait fired.
Get some bait in. Fire it in. So while they're doing that and firing bait in and all that, crack on. But it lasts for, and this is what makes me howl about like that. Those same as bait, same as like some places ban certain baits. It only lasts for 2-3 months a year. Then you move on. I don't know, pace down the edge lasts 2 months. Then next thing you're fishing top 5 yard pellets. Then you're tapping worms against the island. Then you know what I mean. Then you're freshing water to a foam. The venues alter during the year. It's
cyclic, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. So why not let matey have his time there? That's what match fishing's about.
Do
Do you think there should be? We've spoke about rules and that on here loads, Matt, haven't we? And a lot of the guests actually echo the same or similar opinion, at least. Do you think there should be some kind of? You see it in a lot of other sports. Do you think there should be some kind of unified set of rules? Then, do you think that would solve the issues here? Because a lot of them, I hear guests talk about a lot of them. Sometimes they have varying.
I can always remember what you just said, Tobe. I can always remember Nigel Harry tried to do that. Do you remember? He tried to get all the fisheries on board, but the problem is because the venues are so diverse, some of it can't happen.
Right. Okay.
So Nigel Harry, the owner of Barsted, he tried at one particular time, some years ago, to get all the fisheries together. And it was when he was running the UK Champs, because the UK Champs were going from one venue, you're going from north to south to east to west, and you're like, well, I can't take meat there, but you can on all others. So it was trying to get a uniform set of rules, but it don't work. It don't happen because not as much as the fishery owners almost have to listen to the customers.
Yeah. But I don't think it'll ever happen, Tobes. I think that the fishery owners are, and not in a bad way, but they've got their own. That's their fishery. That's their land. The fish are their pets, or they're their pheasants.
End of the day, it's their money. It's their money.
You're coming to my fishery. You're abiding by my rules, and I think there's a big thing. There's a big that's in place in fishing.
Yeah,
and I think it would be in carp fishing.
Yeah,
and
I think it is.
Yeah. I think it would be if you went sea fishing. There'd be certain stretches of beach as well. Listen, you're not allowed to use that on here. You're not allowed to use them. You're not allowed to dig for worms. No. I think wherever you go, it's a almost human instinct thing that if you're running something or you've got something, you want an element of control. Therefore, I'm going to put a few rules in place.
I think if you could, Tove, I think the only way that would happen is obviously the Angling Trust would have to get involved, the governing body. But then again, it's too. There's too many other variables getting in the way of that.
Still, a fishery could run its own matches to its own rules.
That's right.
With nothing to do with
That's
Angling
right.
Trust.
That's right. So no, in a nutshell, my opinion is, like I've just said, if it catches fish, that's what we're there for, aren't we?
Yeah.
There's no worse than going somewhere and not catching fish.
It's called fishing, isn't it?
That's exactly right. That's the whole reason I go. I want to catch fish.
Yeah.
But basically that's my perception on it. Unless it harms us or the fish, ride with it. Let's do it.
Pulling this back then, Ads. Part D Masters is how we got on to talking about these methods, the Carrassios, etc. What we hadn't dwelled on is the £25,000 at what, 27, 28 years of age?
2008, and I'm 43 now. I'll let you do the maths.
Pretty young.
Yeah, no, I showed you when you come last week, didn't I?
Yeah.
So the first thing I did, this was the best thing too. When it got paid in, I went to cash point and printed out the thing when dough was in. I was $3,000 overdrawn, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Because it said 22,000, such and such, such and such.
Yeah.
So that's where $3,000 went. Because obviously, like I've just said, I was building myself back up work-wise. I think I tell you what I did. When I sent the car back, like we said, that money were in an envelope at home. And because I used my late grandma's mum to buy that car. My late grandma, my mum's mum, died and she left us all some money. So I bought that with that. So I think, if I remember rightly, I chipped in. I tell you what I did. I bought a van. I think that's when I had my first van. So I got my money back for the car that blew up, or the turbo that blew up. Then I put some of the Part D money, bought myself a van, rest on it. I think just stayed in bank, took some out, hid it under the bed for a rainy day. And that was it, mate, really.
But obviously at that point, that sort of links everything we've spoke about so far. You come away from the Cornwall period, you started working with Jay again. Your fishing's taking a bit of a change at this point. You win the Part D and you're back into full grasp.
It's a massive, it's a lifeline, pretty much. So all of a sudden, the dough's there to give me that break that, let me tell you, I was looking for, because, as I've said, and I'll say it again, I've got absolutely no regrets about White Acres. None whatsoever. My time down there, my fishing down there, but my fishing was stale. Very, very stale. Because I'd gone from fishing a top kit and 2 in front of me, a top kit and 2 down edge for 5 years pretty much. Other than, don't get me wrong, we used to have, obviously Clint used to let me fish some of the festivals. You know, we're using up my holidays. And so that was a bit of variant fishing. I used to go Stafford Moor quite a bit. But basically when I come back, I needed to start again.
Fishing?
I just in general, tactically.
And how did you do it? What did you do in your fishing? When you got back from this period of White Acres pace fishing in the edge, 8 mils on the clunk line, what did you do to get your fishing back to where you felt it needed to be?
So that was basically 2008 when I come back. I needed, you know, I was like, a lot of the current methods, you got to remember, although Cornwall's, you know, 4 hours away from where I lived, it's like being in a different planet, because Newquay, Cornwall, Devon was always 5-6 degrees warmer. You get away with more. And then all of a sudden I'm back up here. It's colder. Surrounded by incredible anglers. Which obviously, back then at White Acres, I felt I was kingpin. You know, but pretty much me and Andy won. You know, I can remember every single year, we just used to throw the envelopes in a cupboard. Christmas time, they'd all come out.
This is you and Andy there?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. That was the Christmas money. But I needed to learn again.
Bit of a reset.
Yeah, pretty much, because things had changed. You know, I'd spent 5 years away from everybody. Although everyone would coming down, and you know, and at that time, me and Andy used to travel up quite a lot. We used to fish the UK champs. We'd go on other festivals. We'd go Larford festivals. We'd do other things. But the thing was, we'd always use Grenadier tactics to try and win, because we didn't. I just forgot everything.
And so how did you change your fishing? What sort of venues? What sort of competitions?
So basically, 2008, I come back, and I needed to put myself in with other people that could help me. Those people were a varied amount of people, massively. You know, Des Ship, massive influence on that side of fishing, because let's be right. If you look at if you look at pole fishing in general, commercial fishing, Des Ship's the best, without a doubt. So I needed to just refresh myself on everything and basically get a grip of fishing, of methods that had not been right. And of course, then 2011 was the start of the feeder team. So I was then with Steve, other members of the team. And Steve Ringer. All of a sudden then, I've got undeniably the best feeder angler in the world at beck and call. I've got the best pole angler, or one of the best pole anglers, at that type of fishing at my beck and call. And we work together, it works.
You must have given them a lot as well.
Yeah, no, of
people
course.
Like Steve and Des, they must have felt they were getting back from you as well.
Yeah, because that's what happened. You all of a sudden you've got and still now, you know, I still fish with them both. I fish with them both in pairs matches. You know, I spend a lot of time internationally away with Steve. I go White Acres and silverfish fishing and little festivals and that with Des. We still do it now. And the bond and the relationship between two people in angling, you're learning. Tommy Pickering taught what he taught me.
What would you say is the most defining factor to becoming a better all-round angler? Because I feel like you've come away from Whiteacres.
Time on the bank.
Do you think it is?
That's it. Done.
Think it's important you're doing mixed fishing during that time?
Of course. If you look at the last 15 years of my career, I've done everything. You've got to be fishing, and it don't matter whether I'm, at the moment, we can talk about this in a bit. At the moment, I go October to April commercial silverfish fishing, because that's massive now, no doubt about it. Do I want to sit there fishing bomb and bread, bomb and corn for 2 carp? I've been there, done it. Don't want to do it no more.
Why not?
Because all that happened was I'd go fishing Saturday, Sunday and go to work Monday, and I'd not been fishing because I might not get a bite. I might sit and watch somebody catch £100. We've all been in that situation. It's no worse. I get home. What's the word? I like my weekends too much. I don't want to be sat there catching nothing. So, October to April, I go pole fishing. What I mean by pole fishing is silverfish fishing. Yes, we still fish feeder. Yes, we fish Feedermasters at Allcroft, but in that we fish Rycroft, Medlands. I'm commercial silverfish fishing all the time. And what you're doing, you're making decisions. Fishing's about decision making, feeding. If you draw the right peg and you get them right, it's unbeatable. So I have 6 months pole fishing, 6 months feeder fishing. So obviously April comes, pole goes away. Apart from, I fished the UK Champs this year. Apart from that, basically, I'm feeder fishing. Because I've got 2, this year I've got 2 World Championships. We've got Feedermasters Super League team matches, got Feedermasters to try and get in the final. And that's what I do. And that block of 6 months, I decided to do that because previous to that, I was trying to do everything week in, week out, and it don't work. Because your head blows up, basically. Because you'd have to do 4 times as much kit. What I find now at the moment with this 6 months, everything's there. That's what I'm doing. The kit's ready. I don't know, say before we start commercial silverfish fishing, I'll have 2 days doing all milks, doing all my rigs, and that'll last me for, other than an odd set of, obviously this year I can remember some matches you're hooking 20 carp, so you're tying a few hooks. But other than that, it's there, it's ready. Because I'm still going to work. I can't just, I can't, my brain can't handle doing both at the same time. So at the moment, this sort of 6 months, should we say this 6 month period, is how I handle it. That's what I want to do. And of course, when you're in that flow, that's when you're winning.
And I think that what you're describing your year as there is a busy year of bites, action, and the all-important thing, decision-making, what you mentioned. Even the April to October period of feeder fishing, it's warm, fish are moving. Even on the hardest of venues, you're working at it and getting bites and catching fish.
It's about catching fish. We don't go fishing for no other reason.
You fill your calendar with fish-catching matches.
Yeah, because that's the only way you learn. You can't learn by catching nothing.
No.
And I'll always put myself in the position where that's where venues, might say competitions, but the fundamental factor is you want to be catching fish, and it don't matter whether I've got a rod in my hand or a pole in my hand or a waggler or a feeder, river, canal, it don't matter. Because it's always relatable to something that you've been and done before. And like we've said at the start of the podcast, we're talking about 30 years of fishing, 3 times a week minimum.
A lot of decisions.
It's a lot of decisions and a lot of fishing. So that's where I'm sort of up to at the moment with it.
Tell me a little bit more about the England Feeder Team. Obviously, you've got back from your time at Newquay, working at Whiteacres, working with Lebowski, you're fishing so many mixed matches. You've touched on a phone call from a certain Tommy Pickering in 2011. Tell me a little bit more about that and how the England feeder side of things.
I can remember it as clear as anything. I was driving down the A38 in between Derby and Mansfield, and my grinder had broke at work. I can remember it as clear as day.
I thought you were going to say the app on your phone then.
Shh. The phone rang when I was in the van. Again. I want you. Right. What's happened? And at that time, Mick Viles had started fishing again. Because obviously Mick had quite a big break from fishing. And obviously Mick was going to be the bait man. But Mick didn't want that. Mick wanted to fish. So Mick started fishing again. Fair play. Waco coming with the bait man. Yeah, I'm there. That was it. That was the start of it. No problem. Straight to Italy. Pretty much. And of course, back then, it was... Nobody knew about it, did they?
No.
It was pretty much same as what happened to World Freestyle. It's the same sort of thing. Nobody knows how it's going to go until it's up and running. Yeah, I'll come. No problem. And that was it. I was there. That was 2011.
And how many years did you do as bait man, so to speak?
So,
and how important was them years?
well, you know what? Listen, if you've got crap bait, you're at a disadvantage straight away. It's one of my pet hates. I've got I've got to have the best bait. I don't ever in your head. It probably don't make no difference, but I'll never fish with old bait, ever, never. And that's just because then you're taking that factor out. If you don't catch out, you'll blame that. So I don't have them factors. They're out of the way. So bait wise, we were in Italy first one. Red hot. It was ridiculously hot. I can remember walking around with my belly out, just baking basically. and obviously nobody knew how I was going to go. I can't remember how many teams started. Maybe I want to say 14 or 15, maybe. It was on this river. That's what I did. Did that. Did the bank run in. Bank run for Steve both days. Did the bait during the week. Sound. Really enjoyed it. But wanted to be on the box, didn't I?
Wanted to fish.
Of course you do. Weren't there for any other reason.
And how did the team do?
The team. No, didn't get a medal. But first time. 6 blokes again together. Back then who was in the team then? So Tommy Fish, Steve, Phil. No, Phil didn't fish. Tommy, Steve Hemingway, Darren Cox, Dean.
Mick?
Mick, yeah. That was the team. But then all of a sudden, you wanted to be part of it. Following year in Gent, 2012. Obviously, what they started doing then, they started having a match leading up to the World Champs, like a friendly. And obviously Gent, Gent is the other side of Gent Tunnel, hour and a bit. You're there, aren't you? Brilliant, really. The big rowing course in Gent, right up my street. Bream fishing, done a lot of that. Grew up bream fishing with my dad. And we fished this international. I think Stephen won. I was second. Like it were, the lads did really well. I think we won. We were top two teams.
Both the England
teams, because Tommy took a set 2, first and second, I think, if I remember rightly. Stephen won our second. Buzzing for it. But still, no, I weren't fishing.
So you didn't get picked for the world's team to fish that year?
No.
Despite coming second in
but that's life. I felt when you're fishing stuff like that, your mindset and you feel that you're in touch with a venue. That's how I felt in a nutshell. But
why do you think Tommy didn't pick you for that?
He told me I weren't ready. Which, looking back, and we've touched on this before, Tommy, when you can see any management see things different to what you can see. And he saw I weren't ready. And I can remember, and I was like, I was like a bit piffed. And when he explained to me why, he basically said, listen, you're the future of this team. If I put you in now and you blow it, you're done. And in reality, what he was doing, he was protecting me for when I was ready. And he was dead right, because the following year when I did get in, I've fished both days ever since. So, although I was gruntled by that, team come second. Or the third? No, second they were. That he did that because he knew what was going to happen. And he was right.
Sounds like good management and good experience from Tommy's part in a way.
Yeah, massively. He knew, because he's done it all, hasn't he? He's fished, he's managed, not just blokes, girls. You know, so although it was heartbreaking, which it was done for the right reasons.
And South Africa the year after.
Yep.
How did you find out you were actually in? And how did you feel?
I didn't. I had to battle it out. Me and Grant battled it out the last day. And throughout the week, because Tommy's rules, and at the end of the day, he's grabbing everybody together. You know, and he's the same. Tommy's ruling is basically, if the team wins, that's it, done. You've got to, somebody's got to do something drastically wrong, or they're not winning on the first day. And we just spent all week, you know, battling out, and it come down to the last day. I won the session, caught 17 carp.
What when you talk about South Africa ads, that's I don't know if strange is the right time or word to use. Strange. It's not a venue you associate with match fishing. I'm going to South Africa to fish a world championship. Tell us a little bit about the venue.
You've got to remember as well, South Africa makes it a world championship. Otherwise, it'd be European.
That's the country.
Yeah. So without them, it's not a world champs. Which is massive, and most people won't realise that.
And what's it like going there? Like, surely getting your kit there, the venue's going to be different,
obviously,
the environment.
Obviously, back at that time, we were backed by Press Innovations. Brilliant sponsorship, did everything for us. They sent the gear out on a pallet. I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks before. Went to a chap called Adrian van der Heever, who was a good mate of the team, good mate of Tommy's. And basically looked after us like kings. Went round to his house when we got there, picked it all up, and straight away, obviously, but the bits and bats, you know, basically, I think we might have had 3 suitcases, 1 full of clothes and 2 full of kit.
Wow. Was it dangerous?
Well, they reckon, obviously, you know, we didn't see anything, but, you know, basically driving around a lot of South Africa, there's great big high gates. Every house is covered by gates, barbed wire. You know, so there's obviously... Did we see anything? No, not really.
Never felt in danger?
No, at the top of the road, I can always remember, the lads will vouch for this, at the top of the road where we stayed right on the river. Beautiful place. I can't think what it was called. Summit Lodge it were. Anyway, we were in a room on stilts. And basically, as you come out again, electric gates, 10-foot high, barbed wire. There was a shop at the end of the road, and basically, you know, and sometimes you don't realise the card that you dealt with, but there's like young kids like sniffing glue, and now, you know, it's different. It's a different world. Well, it is. It's a different country. But that side of it obviously makes you think sometimes.
It does.
But regarding anything else, no, nobody bothered us.
And what about the actual fishing and the venue? It's your first ever world
The fishing was incredible.
What were the crack? How did your matches go?
I'll tell you what happened.
This is your debut.
Yeah. Oh, massively. All week it blew and absolutely. Bearing in mind, you basically sat in the sea. That's the best way to explain it.
What's the venue?
Bloom-off Dam. You basically sat in the sea. You can't see anything. You can't see anything opposite you until you go, or if you went. Well, you'll be going.
Really?
2 years, World Games.
God, I'd love to go.
World Games in 2 years, isn't it? So everybody will be there. Float, feeder, girls,
Wow.
disabled. We're all going. I think it's 2 years or 3 years. Can't remember. 2027, I think it is.
Okay.
And if it is, I would presume it'll be on parts of Bloom-off. And it blew an absolute oolie all week. And the fish were, I don't know, £4 to £8.
Carp.
Yeah, told you rodding. Ridiculous. Like, sit there. Holding on. What an incredible venue. And then what happened were, the actual match day, it was ridiculous. It was like a sheet of glass.
Calm.
Sheet of glass. Wasn't a breath. It was absolutely baking. It was like, being in mind we're fishing for 8 fish. This day we've turned up, it was like somebody had been overnight and poured a load of stockies in it.
No.
Right? We're fishing for 8 fish, yeah?
All week, that's what you've been practicing
Yeah,
on.
all day. So we were fishing for 8 fish, yeah? 8 fish, 20 kilo. I think I had 12 at first hour. Not one of them were £4. Come down the bank, everybody's the same. It was like a fish farm had just gone and poured 1 billion carp in the lake. And I'm like, so the next day, I did all right. I had 23, I think I was 3rd or 4th. Brilliant.
In the section.
Yeah. Fantastic. Great start. Loved it.
Good debut.
Yeah. 20 odd fish. The next day it blew oolie again. Nobody caught one.
What's that all about?
Nobody caught one. So we're fishing 5 days for a tactic, but that's when management, bank runners, everything else comes into play. The next day it blew oolie. Nobody caught one. They weren't a little. They were like this. Like they just, they got the price tag still on them.
Incredible.
Next day it went back to normal.
And how did you get on second day?
Crap. Horrific. Had 3 or 4 bites. 12th, I think I was.
Right. And what about the team?
Bronze, I think we got.
Medal on your first one?
Yeah. Disappointed in myself. Don't quite. Just one of them. Just couldn't get no bites. Ridiculous.
Did it make you hungry for it? Your first world champ, sat on the box
Yeah, of course
fishing?
it did. Of course it did, because I wanted to. That's what you want to do. What else is better than fishing for your country?
What about the year after? Obviously, this was a massive year for the team.
It was a massive year for the team, and it was probably one of the biggest years of my life as well.
2014.
Where there's a lot of things that clicked. And I've done a few. I did a video for Daiwa about it a couple of years ago. And basically what happened were, it was obviously Ireland, weren't it? And a lot of the team had Irish backgrounds, because of course we were, they would go in and they'd been, and it was in Ascara, and we put because it was close, we put a load of time in. We put a load of time in. And I can remember we went on a festival. They had a feeder-only festival that they'd run, because obviously they developed the Greenway. Obviously, most people know about it. The Greenway's part of Inniscarra Dam. They developed it especially for the World Championships. Fundamental amount of work. And we went for this feeder festival. And in a nutshell, I was abysmal. And because I didn't get it. I didn't get the fishing.
What do you say when you say abysmal? How can someone as good as yourself be abysmal?
Because everybody's there to learn, aren't they? You know, and I didn't. I'll tell you what happened, and you get it. Sometimes you get it in other venues and other things. You think that. What's the best way for me to explain it? You tar the venue with a species, and obviously, what happened where you tarred Ireland. Back then, I did with like skimmers, bream. Because I was that hungry for it, 2 or 3 of the days till I realised I was fishing for the wrong species. I was fishing for a species that in 5 hours turned up for 1 hour. So I pulled my net out, 8 skimmers. Waste of time. Where was the roach? Where were the hybrids? Not got them. Because I weren't fishing for them. And it was a massive learning curve, that. And when I look back, it's like smashing you in the face. So, and what I mean by that is you put in, for example, I'll use that as an example. I was putting 3 or 4 worms on, or 3 or 4 maggots when my peg were full of roach. You're not going to get a roach, are you? It's like putting bunches of bloodworm on when you're trying to catch peckers. Waste of time. All they'll do is bite the end of it and swim off. You don't catch him. So, and it was a massive learning curve, that was.
You're almost learning to catch what's in your peg rather than what you want to catch.
No, that's right. I wasn't fishing for what was in my peg. I was fishing for the species to win. When in reality, they were the species to win, but I needed. It's no different to fishing now. You know that story. What I'm talking about. That's implemented in a lot of my fishing now. It's stuck.
It's quite a healthy way of fishing, isn't it?
No, of course it is, because it's you're automatically making yourself busy.
Yeah.
Put 1 bloodworm on, catch the roach. If you go in and you catch a skimmer on a bloodworm, put 2 bloodworms on. And that didn't click. But it did.
That was the point.
Yeah, 100%.
And tell us a little bit about what happened, obviously, the practice week and the build-up to the World Championship and then the actual event itself.
Yeah, the practice week were mint. As soon as I got that in my head and I knew what I was doing, I was there.
And what were the tactics? How did you fish?
There were a couple of things what happened. I'm gonna say what happened? I'm gonna say Will Freeman was there. And Will's a brilliant angler. And I can remember he taught us about pulling on fish.
What's that?
Just when you get a bite, just slowly move your rod.
So don't strike?
Don't strike.
So your tip rattles, what do?
You just go like that.
What, just along your rest?
Yeah.
How far?
Depends on your feeder. So then your tip had got to be right against your feeder. And I thought, that's amazing. Instead of reeling in, chuck it back out, 'cause you miss your bite, just pull it.
And what happens if it's on? And then you can pick it up?
in. Because he lets you know he's on. Because you go like that, you go like that. If he's got the bait in his mouth, you just stop your rod. And then next thing your rod will go, and you got him.
What's it do?
Woo. So that was a massive thing. Especially when you're fishing grubby baits. Worms on the hook. It was massive. The 12-second depth thing, I can't remember who sorted that out, but that would bang right. No doubt about that. Pulling it all together,
What do you mean by the 12-second depth thing? Because someone listening in is like, what do you mean?
So basically, it was the 12 count, which was, I don't know, we could sit here and argue about it till we're blue in the face. My opinion is, now, back then didn't, because bearing in mind, we're still in early doors of international feeder fishing.
2014.
3 years we've been doing it. My opinion now is, I think a second's a metre, pretty much, 3 foot. So we were finding the 12 seconds. That's what depth we were fishing in, stopwatched. Or 1,000, 2,000, 3, like we do now, like we pretty much count now.
So you chuck your bomb in.
Chuck your bomb in.
It takes 12 seconds to hit bottom.
Yeah, counting as in 1,000, like that. That's how I count. If we find in the team now it's that crucial, because obviously everyone can't count the same, we'll stopwatch it sometimes.
How do you do that then?
You chuck it out, hit your bomb, click your stopwatch.
So you cast, you've got a stopwatch in your hand at the same time as you're casting.
Yeah.
And as you hit your clip and it hits the water, you tap your stopwatch on.
Yeah.
And then when your bomb hits the bottom, you stop
it. Whatever seconds that is, because then that's generic then, isn't it?
It's taking it to next level, that, isn't it?
But obviously now we've got the catch clickers now, which I think is
this big computer screen.
Yeah, mint, absolutely mint. You know, and it analyzes stuff, and I love fishing with it. But you just do it on that. So you chuck it out, because obviously trying to cast with a stopwatch in your hand, you know, you can do it, but if you're chucking out now 60 metres, you need your other hand for, then you, as it's going through air, you're picking that, you know, so there's ways and means of doing it now. But that was massive. And what happened in that depth, you caught all 3 species. You caught roach, you caught hybrids, you caught bream. And
I'm assuming that depth could be at any distance, depending on the area.
It didn't matter. I remember. That's how we threw everybody. Because a normal team plan, if you think about it, is right. We're all going to fish 30 meters. You couldn't do that there, because Ireland is like a moonscape. It's, you know, up and down everywhere. I think our fish like. It's one of the very few times where when depth's massive, distance isn't. Because 9 out of 10 on venues, if you were inside somebody, you'd be shaking in your boots. I'd never fish inside anybody unless I was guaranteed that the depth was the most important thing. Because I think the first day I fished 22 meters, which was like 10 meters inside everybody else.
But you're in the right depth.
The second day, I remember where Stephen was. His depth was at 35 meters. Nobody chucked there.
So
because 35 meters was sent to be, because of course you listen. You got to remember, if you're fishing the World Championships, every other team in your section is fishing between 20 and 25 meters. You're at 30, 35, which happened to Steve second day. He destroyed it.
And obviously, if I was the German bank runner on the bank, I come and stand behind Adam Wakelin, who's catching one a chuck. Right, he's fishing 25 metres.
I
go and stand behind Steve Ringer further up. Hang on, he's fishing 35 metres.
Yeah, you puddled.
Go and stand behind Mick Viles. He's only lobbing at 18 metres.
Yep.
What the hell's going on with this team plan?
Yeah, we've puddled them.
But what you are doing is all fishing in the same depth of water, which is the depth where you can catch skimmers, roach, and hybrids.
Yeah. And, well, we dominated the end.
Winners?
Easy.
How did you get on?
There it is, look.
Look at that. What a team. First ever gold medal for the England Feeder Team?
Yeah. It was massive. It was massive point in feeder fishing. And a massive point for us.
Look at that. What a team.
It's
you look quite happy on the end of that photo.
We had some ale that night, let me tell
you. Did you?
Oh, did we? Because obviously the girls come over as well. Lindsay come over. I think Steve, Ruth and Jake came. I think Denise, mixed Denise came. All the girls come over. We had the rates up.
How does it feel that, Ad? Like, I don't know how patriotic you are. I don't know if...
I'll tell you how patriotic I am. I don't watch football. Can't stand football.
Okay.
But when England play, I watch.
So you are quite a patriotic person.
So I do normal domestic football, as in clubs and leagues and that. I'm not. I don't follow it.
Where's that moment there that we can see on screen? Where's that sit in your, angling moments?
Yeah, it's up there, 100%. 100% with a few others. It was what we needed, I think. And to win by that much, obviously Stephen won individual. I think if I remember rightly, we were something like, I think all of us were in the top. I can't remember what we won with. I can remember I had 5 points. Did I have 5 or 4? I had 5, I think. A third and a second. And we paralysed it, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And then that was sort of the start of what was a little golden period for the England feeder team, because the year after was Gent, if I remember rightly, which is a different canal in Gent, not the rowing course.
No, Gent to Newsen it's called. And a great big shipping canal.
That's a unique venue, that
yeah,
place,
it was.
What's it like for people listening who might go to Tunnel Barn or Fish Barston or go on the Steynie? What's different? What's different about this canal? What's different about that place?
It looks. It's that picture says it all. For those that can't see, it's basically a massive shipping canal. You've got barges. I can remember barges that, as they go past you, they'd sort of cover 3 or 4 of your anglers while you're fishing.
3 or 4 pegs.
Yeah, and then obviously your net would go. It'd like as it come through, then it goes. And it's like you had to look after your net. That was a massive thing as well there.
That is massive, isn't it? You can't.
Toby, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's huge.
And it was very technical. Massively technical.
In what way?
Because
people say this sometimes, and I sometimes think people say it to make things sound good. But explain it to me, some people. It was really technical fishing. Anyway, I did really well. Tell me what makes fishing technical.
It's technical, quite simply, because it's a ridiculous size venue. There's boats up and down it all the time. There's a limited amount of fish, which is more importantly why it's technical. And also catching the right fish. That was all about, and I can always remember him saying it, and we still laugh about it now. Lads, you need to bring your big balls. That's what TP said.
Tommy Pickering?
Yeah.
What did he mean by that?
Oh, because it was a bottle job. No doubt about it. And end of the day, we'd all got big balls, I think. Because you're talking about the year before we just won. The drive was phenomenal. We fished same again. So like what happened in Gent rowing course, there was an international thing early on,
like a practice
match, yeah. Where everybody fished. I tell you, Runham, great bloke, Jan van Schendel.
Yeah,
mint, absolutely mint.
Love Jan.
Yeah, he's a great bloke. Great bloke. As a bit of a practice, and same again. It was mega. It was absolutely mega. We all went out, caught some fish, learnt a bit. This time I took the honours, won the old shaboodle.
Did you win it?
Yeah.
The individual?
Yeah.
For the practice event?
For the practice session, yeah.
Mega. That's like the European version of the
it was never called that. But it was, we felt in tune. I can remember the second day of that. I caught a raker. I was, I'll tell you who I was next to. Teo.
Yeah.
Big Teo.
Gentle Giant.
Yeah. And I was like, and I could tell that he knew we were on some fish. And there was this one area, it caught a few the day before. And I was in, I think if I remember right, the second day, because Tommy did all the draw, and I was in C section. And I thought, you need to get me like 1 to 5 or something like that. And he drew me 3 or 2. I think it was C2, C3 or something. But I think the MPEG had won the day before, if I remember rightly. C1, because it was a big gap. And I can't remember the weight, but I caught like 12, 13 kilo skimmers. And just, a few things clicked. We all clicked.
What about the main event? I mean, winning that is great. You're on track. Tell me about the actual world champs.
Practice week, same again. They were to save a blank, you've got to catch a goby, like a little bullhead, little rockfish that are common in Europe now. Obviously, that venue we're talking about, basically in the edges, was just all pebbles. And these goby, wherever the venues I've been to, these gobies just sit on these pebbles. So you had to catch one of them to start with. That basically, I've just said about the net. You have to check your net and all, because your net's doing all these things with these boats, and you're putting a fish 1.5 inch, 2 inch long in it.
But that could make a difference.
No, massively. And I always thought if I caught one, I think I'd bait tub it.
What do you mean by bait tub it?
Putting a bait tub, because no matter how much you check your net, can you imagine pulling your net out and it not being in there?
I have bad dreams about it, Adam.
No, it's horrific. So that was the first port of call. You just like caught it on a pinky short, whatever. And what you do, they used to pull your rod in. For something that big, it's like he's sucked it in, he takes a massive charge up and he's like, and your tip goes, so that was the first thing we had to sort out, which obviously, the more I think back, I think, what a sad thing to do. But it's team fishing. That's that's what you've got to do. And the practice week went all right. There was areas where there were big fish and areas where they weren't. And I can't remember where we all ended up the first day. We were in contention. Might have been 3rd, 4th, maybe. And the first day, I had a roach for 8th.
One fish?
One fish.
First day of the world?
First day of the worlds. So I've gone from a good day and listen, you'll know it more than anybody. There's nothing worse than being dry.
Yeah.
So
it's frightening thought.
Yeah, so I've gone from a mint day in South Africa to ending poor. I've gone from flying in Ireland, first day at World Champs. Because Tommy's always thing was he wanted to win free. So I've had a roach, didn't even know it was on.
What do you mean?
I didn't know it was on. I picked up. It was on end.
Well, you didn't have a bite?
No.
So you're blanking.
I'm blanking.
World Champs, first day, hardest canal in the universe.
Horrific.
You've not had a bite?
And the fish is massive. Like,
Okay.
There's a few perch. A silverfish is massive. And I've just gone to pick up to reel in, and he's like, ooh.
What?
Art were going. Horrific.
You couldn't write that?
No.
So you've gone, right, I'll just wind this in. It's like, ding,
and,
oh my God.
And there was a video of it.
Right.
Because I fibbed at lads for ages that I'd caught it. Until this video come out, right? And I got caught out.
Did you?
Yeah, they caught me out big time.
We just have to admit
Yeah, I
it.
had to admit it.
I'm sure that everyone's done that.
No,
everyone's got a story.
You know when somebody says, I haven't lost a fish or I haven't missed a bite? No, 100%.
Or it were in top lip, but actually it were under chin.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I never tell anybody I foul
Wrapped
up fish.
around.
Yeah,
Wrapped
I
around.
never tell anybody I foul up fish. So yeah, I got it in 8 points.
Is that what only fish you caught?
Yeah, no bite.
No.
Well, I didn't have a bite. Oh, listen, let me tell you. That roach was probably one of... It was just, you know what I mean? It was like... The more I think about it, it could have chovelled my bait and spat it out. Cheers, Mr. Roach.
It didn't though, did it?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. And that was it. That was my one bite. Oh, well, I didn't even have a bite. That was my one fish.
Okay. Second day.
I can't remember where we were that first day. Second day, I drew roughly where we've just been talking about in the European friendly thing.
When you were near
Yeah,
Teo.
yeah, I drew round there. And basically you're in some massive rushes. Which now, when I look back, that's probably why they were good pegs. Because there's a lot of venues we go to now where inside bank vegetation's massive. And I think back now, and I think that, whether it's cover or, I think it's massive that. We didn't really alter anything. I had a same sort of thing. And basically, everything that could have clicked. I think Phil caught, knocking into the last stages, I think Phil caught a bream.
Phil Ringer.
Or a big perch, something like that. Phil Ringer. Mick had a bream. And I was about, I'm going to say, if I remember rightly, 7th. Rob was winning my section, Rob Button.
Yeah.
And basically all week, I think it might have been Dean. I think Dean might have sorted this out.
Dean Barlow.
Because it's the sort of thing that Dean would do. If I remember rightly, I think. And basically, when in the practice match, there was in the practice week, there was a gap where they had the beer tent. Like they have stalls and people selling feeders, and there was a gap. And we drew this box this particular day, and Tommy put Dean on the end, and he caught a raker bream. And he catch him on double caster.
Okay.
It was early on in week. Now, I'm not being funny. If you speak to most people, putting a caster on the hook is a daunting on a feeder. Put them on pole, no problem. Put them on a feeder. You've got to know it's right. And basically, throughout the rest of the week, an odd bite was on double caster, short. So
that's a nice little edge, isn't it? Nice little confidence.
No, it is because of, and I might be wrong, but I'm 99% sure that's what, because that's deep. That way also, what I would say is random things like that. It'd always come from Dean, no doubt about it, because he's got that background. We're getting into the last hour, and basically all these fish were 18 metres. If you caught one, it was 18 metres. No matter where you went, it was 18 metres.
What made 18 metres?
I think it was like 2 metres past them pebbles, so you didn't get ragged by grumbling.
Little goby.
So sorry, we call them grumblings.
Grumbly.
Yeah,
that's a Waco, isn't it?
We always, we did always use, you mustn't grumble when you'd land him. And like into the latter stages, I'm like, kept trying it, set it up, kept trying it, set it up again, kept trying it. And what happened were, Rob's come down and he's gone, basically, we need a big fish. No doubt about it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I caught 3 or 4 skimmers long, a roach maybe. And I can remember it like yesterday. There was, I reckon there was probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes, I'm going to say.
What, to the end?
To the end of the match.
Okay.
And obviously those that know World Championships, every single fish has got to be out of the water.
Yeah, so you can't, there's no fish on.
No fish on, no 15 minutes. It's got to be out. If it's touching water, you've had it.
Don't count.
Don't count.
Okay.
And I can remember it. One of these tanker boats come through. I could see it in the distance. And what was funny was, all practice week, when these boats come through, that was when you got your bite. When you keep nets riding down to the bloke next to you, that's when they're fed. So I'm sat there and I'm thinking, and it was, I always remember it's the big one, it's the DF FD or something like that. It's got a big blue tanker thing.
It's basically a ferry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've probably seen it. They're all the same. And it's one of these that covers 5 or 6 pegs. So as he's chugging along and you can see him coming, all of a sudden you like see it backing up. And I'm sat there, and as he's gone through, the boat's gone through past me. The aftermath of the waves is ridiculous. My keep net's down there, and these waves are going badoosh, badoosh. And about the 3rd wave on, I've looked at my tip, and my tip's buckled.
What?
Yeah, gone. It's round. But the way you've hid it, I've picked my rod up, and I'm going to tell you something now. What happened was, in Italy, the first year, the 5-minute hooter had already gone. So at 5 minutes, the blow hooter would say 5 minutes right. In Italy, the first year, I banked one for Steve the second day, right?
Steve Ringer.
And I set my stopwatch at 5 minutes. As soon as the hooter goes, I always put it on my phone. He hooked to Crasio with a minute and a half to go. As it happens, it didn't really mean anything. They blew the hooter early, and did not go in his net. And I'd still got 40 seconds on my iPhone, whatever I would running off. And he got off his bike. So like, what happened? I said, it's there, look. Says they've blown early. So with this in mind, I've hooked this bream. I've gone to Rob, how long we got? He says, you basically 2 minutes. So I'm like...
You're making me nervous.
Yeah, so I'm like... And all that stuck into my head was what happened to Steve. And I'm like, no, not having it. So he's like, take your time, and I'm like, I can't do it. It's either on, it's either in, it's either coming out, or I'm, you know what I mean?
Got proper gear on?
I don't know, something like 012, and I think we were fishing Series 18s back then. Maybe a 16 Series 18, 15 Series 18. All I can remember was winding. And as I was winding, I was slowly... I'd got two... you'd see, if Toby put that picture back on of when I was on there, I've got two nets. We've got a mullet net, which is a pan head, because there were a load of mullet in there. And basically, if you didn't get the head in, I never hooked one, thank God. But if you didn't get the net in, if you didn't get his head in the net, because obviously a few people caught them, they were like grass carp, same. You won't get them in. Unless you got them head first, you got no chance. So I got two nets. One of them, we've got this mullet net on, you can see. So the one, if you look to the one that's on my brolly, look, that's my mullet net, the left one.
Yeah, see the handle.
See the handle. So I got two 5 metre nets, yeah? And that was my fishing one for my normal fish. I'm winding like a madman. Luckily...
What's your heart doing at this point?
Horrific.
What?
Yeah, thinking it's horrific. And all I can remember is keep going in my head of what happened to Steve. Rob's like, calm down. I'm like, no. So as I'm winding, I'm shoving this, because obviously the good thing was, this net wasn't sprayed out like that. It was on my brolly, parallel. So as I'm winding, I'm shoveling. Anyway, as I've netted it, I thought no. So you know when you're preempting things in your head, I'm shoving this net forward, I'm winding the fish at the same time, and I'm thinking, right, what I'm going to do, and I did it, and basically I've netted this fish, and I've threw my rod in the bushes, and I've got my other hand, because you can't lift a fish 5 meters, 2 pound bream, 5 meters with one arm. Not a chance. I threw my rod down, got me on like, gone like, Hooter's gone, Arr!
No!
I'm like...
So you sat there with a 2 pound bream dangling out of water?
Hooter's gone. The other thing I thought, if I can't do that, I'm going to have to swing it up the bank. Or drag it up the bank. Because I've seen times where people look to fish on pole, just gone, Arr! And dropped it in the box. As long as it's in your box, nobody can do anything. So I'm thinking, do I just drag it up the rocks? But if I wouldn't have thrown my rod...
Wouldn't have counted.
That's nuts, isn't it?
No,
That's
ridiculous.
So close.
And what difference did that fish make?
So I was 7th before that, I reckon. That got me second.
Wow.
That got me second. And we won by half a point.
No!
So...
Is it that one there?
It was massive. There he is.
Is that the fish?
Yeah, look at him, look. He looks...
Look at that.
He looks absolutely... He's been cormораted, look. You see on his belly.
Yeah.
He's a warrior. And I wanted to drag him up the rocks. But, listen, but I don't care. It's England. So, yeah, they were my other fish on my other line. And he's the warrior And like I said, I was in these rushes, look.
They're the rushes you threw your rod in.
Yeah, just didn't care. Could have thrown it in the lake for me. Didn't really matter.
That moment, that you never, the way that you tell that story, like I can tell must have been so intense.
It was horrific.
But that's what we live for. That's what you live for.
Yeah, it was horrific. It was probably. But then to come down and we won by half a point, I was like, it could have gone very, very badly.
Look at the fine line there.
It were mint. And
There you go.
Yeah, unbelievable. We all fish mint, all of us.
That is a fantastic image, innit? If you're listening in your car, folks, you've got to stop at this point and have a look. That's what World Championship International Fishing's all about.
Yeah.
Look at that. There's Jeff there, there's Ernie, Jamie, Tanks on it, Eddie.
Yeah, Mick. Mick might have been. Mick got silver or bronze individual. I can't remember what. Yeah, it was just mint.
Mega.
But like I said to you, everything. I'm sure Mick had a bream, or he had a big fish. It might have been a perch, and Phil had a bream as well. And then that, because of course back then we didn't know. Tommy didn't know I caught it at the end, because it were.
But he getting you an hug, didn't he?
How would you know? That was it. Number 2.
2 goals in a row. Ireland and then Gent.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely
Great.
fantastic.
No, fantastic.
You must have felt invincible as a team at that point. At that moment, now you must have thought, we've just won 2 world champs in a row. We're the boys.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Tommy had took us to a level very quickly. How to fish international events was probably the best way to explain it. Because we were just English anglers, basically. Some of them, international have got like World Club experience, etc., etc. But to fish to fish a World Championship, basically. So that was.
What's different? Because people must listen to you say that.
What I've just said to you. What happened with that bream? Basically not fishing to fishing under management is probably the way to do it. If you can't take orders or can't listen to the manager or the bank runners, you're not fishing. You know that as much as I do. You've got to do as you're told, pretty much.
You might need to come fourth.
But I don't want to come. But a lot of people I don't want to come fourth.
You might need to come 8th for England to win.
Yeah. Hang on, I've come 8th. Well, what a load of shit that is. But that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, you come in. The difference between coming 12th and 8th is what wins England gold.
That's right. It's always about the 5th man. That's all he used to say, and he was so right. Unbelievable.
Still the same now.
Yeah. So, another great World Championships. Thought it was, but it was different. Like you just saw in my net there. There was 5 or 6 fish in there for 2 points.
It's very tactical, that is.
Yeah.
Very
ridiculous.
technical, like you started talking about on that particular venue.
So, it was you just move on, don't you? It's just incredible.
2 gold medals deep. So we're at 2 world champs in a row. 2 team gold medals. Yeah?
Yeah.
What happens next? Tommy Pickering wants 3. The year after.
It's all he's ever wanted. And well, it's obviously never happened and might never happen again. So
where did you go next?
The DDT Canal in Serbia. Novi Sad. You've been there.
Yeah.
You were there.
I won the junior one there, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
What, did you catch peckers?
I caught little skimmers, yeah.
Yeah.
Little
Them
peckers.
flat.
No, they were normal
upturns.
ones.
Were they?
Yeah, first time I went, they were normal ones. Second time I went, they were the flat ones.
Yeah. Incredible fish they were.
Weird, aren't they?
But so we'd same again. We'd been out there. What did we do? Same sort of thing. There was a bit of a fiddle up beforehand.
Practice.
Yeah, as far as it were bites. I'll tell you what Serbia is. Novi Sad especially. At this point, it was probably the best and still the best on the top of my head for bites. Now, without bites in the World Championships, we've just gone from fishing for 5 bites
Gentanesian.
to fishing for 100 bites. And when a venue holds up 5 days of bites, Don't get me wrong, they're not big fish. They were little fish. But bites is bites. Bites is what makes World Championships. That's my opinion. It held up all week. It was mint. Little catfish, pass-on shats, the spiky ones. You know, the one you have to thumb and finger them.
Yeah.
Shouldn't really say that. Yeah, basically, you've got to, when you grab them, you got to roll them on the belly.
Yeah.
Turn them over, thumb on the belly, index and middle finger, either side at spine. Otherwise, as you well know, there's a lot of claret about.
Yeah.
Numbness, stinging.
Can turn into bad stuff.
Yeah, germaline job.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of them who wear gloves and that. But I just find that was my way. So basically, I'd swing him in, thumb on his belly, finger either side of his dorsal, done. And then obviously there were these flat skimmers, what we talk about. These flat skimmers were fish that fed off the bottom. They got an upturned mouth, like a bleak. So they feed off deck.
They're almost like a bleak skimmer hybrid, aren't they?
It's probably the best way to explain it because they're long, pale. So no, it was great. I thought it was brilliant. We had a method.
What were the method? What were the fishing?
Just short, just nice fishing. Hitting your bites, being busy, casting regular, all bloodworm fishing. Just a numbers game, but more of a numbers game than anything, I think, is probably the best way to explain it. The catfish, we've been to a few venues with these catfish now, and they are area dominated.
Make a venue peggy.
Yeah, but not always. It's like, basically, they fill themselves up, gouge on joker, worms, whatever you're fishing, and then that's it, done. Shut up, gone. And the first day, I had a great match. Caught quite a few skimmers. When them skimmers are in your peg, same as what we're talking about. Bit longer up length. Fishing for what's in your peg. When the cats are in, shorten your up length down, catch your cats. When they turn up, the flat face skimmers, catch them. So it was a reading your peg fishing match.
You're pulling on your experience you spoke
you are.
about in Ireland, aren't you?
Of course you are. And this is what I'm trying to say. This is when everything clicked, everything dawned, everything was, you know, I'm right. Day one, section win, 5.5 kilo. I think next were 4 kilo.
Was it?
Brilliant. Rate, you know, you look at my cat shot. I don't know whether Tame's got a photo, but got all these pass on shots, odd skimmer involved. Mint. Team did brilliant, leading after day one.
Wow. There's your cat.
There you are. Look at the flatty. Look at them few flatties. They were the stampers.
Yeah.
I also said, look at that picture. For those who don't know, they called me Daddy Pig.
Why?
Because I got that daft beard and stubble look.
Oh yeah.
So I said, this is a story, Tobe. I said that is not coming off. If we win, that's not coming off. And I can remember that week telling Linz about it, and she hates stubble.
Okay.
Don't like it. So that's why they're calling me Daddy Pig. So day one, we're winning. So we've gone from 2 golds. I think we obviously, say Ireland, we won both rounds, legs. They call them legs, don't they? And I think Gent to Newsen, we won the second leg. I can't remember where we were first leg. So this, for the hat-trick, day one.
Can't go any better, can it?
No. I think we had, if I'm honest, I won, Steve won. One at Mick might have won. And then we had like a second and a third. Something daft. A daft score.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I think it was 9 points, if I remember, off the top of my head. 9 points. And them flat skimmers love the sun. Like they do in a lot of European countries, don't they? They love the sun.
Yeah. Second
day, I drew E section in this bay. You know what I mean? There's like a big turning bay, isn't there?
Yeah, to the right of the bridge.
That's right, to the right of the bridge. That day I was to the left of the bridge, like that section, whatever it was. The second bridge, the main bridge. The second day I was in that turning bay, same again. And what was good was somebody had been on my peg the day before. Who had been on my peg?
An English angler?
Yeah, we'd had the same peg. It was Stephen. Stephen was on that peg or next but one.
Right.
And he was like, listen, and I can remember it. He said, listen, to them cats, which is what I've just said to you, they were filling up. And he caught the day before following them out.
When you say following them out, what do you mean?
Just pulling two off. Pulling a metre off. You couldn't, as in practice, we've been catching them. Because they were eating. But I think this was like, you got to remember, this was day 7 of a pile of joker going in.
So you catch a few, don't get one, you take your line clip off.
It was like clockwork. Unbelievable. Started off, brilliant, flying, chucked out, no bite. Well, what? Pulled some off, chucked out. Ridiculous.
Caught?
Yeah. Moved 5 times, I think. Won the section.
2 wins.
2 wins. Won the section. Just but that info, if you wouldn't have had that info, it would mint info. You know, you can't. That's what team fishing is about, isn't it? 2 wins. I think we had Stephen won, I won. I think we had a third and two so runs where these catfish weren't there. And the Germans destroyed it. I think after day 1 we had 9, they had 11.
Yeah.
Second day, I think they might have even had less than 9.
Incredible.
Why, I'm not so sure. Toby's just putting on the results of that's the individual results. So if you look at that, Matt, I've got 215 fish. 5 kilo 200, that were day 1. 5 kilo 160, and then I've had a total of 9 kilo 900, so another 4 and a bit the second day. If I'm honest with you, I felt I was in tune, which you do. And Jens Dirksen, he won A section and then drew the MPEG. He drew the MPEG in the match E, caught a load of crassos up near that dam, you know where that sluice is.
Yeah.
And then the second day he was in A section, caught all these flat skimmers. He was in the other split, because it was split sections. He was in the other split to Steve, because Steve was down there as well the second day. So looking at that, there is 4 of us on 2 points.
I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Don't know if I have.
Unbelievable.
I've looked at a lot of world champs results in different disciplines over the years. I don't know if I've ever seen the top 4 all having 2 wins.
No. And obviously, I think, you've only got to look who's above me. Felix, my best buddy. The German. Jens Dirty, 2 English, 2 Germans.
Steve Ringer second.
Yeah. Because he had a load of, he had 9 kilo 200 of flatties on the second day. And obviously won my section the day 1. So 2 points, mate, and can't get on the podium. And like I said, the Germans fished a blind the second day and took the hat trick off us. Which,
how did that feel?
Fishing, innit?
Were everyone down? How were Tommy Pickering? That were his chance.
Yeah. Probably same as we all did, I think. Long journey home. But of course, the problem is when you're at that pinnacle, it's hard to take in it. You know what it's like. There's nothing worse. At that point, there was nothing worse than going home not winning. Now there's nothing worse than going home without a medal. Which happens regular. because everybody's picked up, everybody's better. The continental teams are better. Bait's ready available. They've got better tackle. You know, when I sit back and think to Italy in 2011, and I was walking the bank looking at some of the kit, like walking, you know what I mean? You just like, but now, because obviously tackle companies are in Europe, everything's accessible, tactics are accessible, and
that applies across all disciplines.
Of course it does. Of course it does now. It's, you know as well as I do. It's hard to win.
It spoke about a lot on this podcast how fast and how good European teams are now at international fishing.
Because that's all they do. They don't have a domestic. I've got, when you look across my calendar, it's all domestic, other than the world champs.
When you said domestic, you mean UK fishing?
I mean, yeah, just general. Because you got to remember, a lot of these countries. Take Felix for example. Felix don't go week in, week out. They fish pairs matches, they fish festivals, but they don't go week in, week out like we do at home. They fish it to international rules when they fish. Which, listen, like you said, and I've heard it on quite a few of these podcasts with the people that you've had. Everybody says the same. But we've gone from flying to not winning, which is when you rank one, it's the same as anything, isn't it? You expect to win. People expect you to win. The country expects you to win. Your supporters expect you to win. But it's not that easy. And now the mindset, when you lose, if you'd never won, we'd have still been hungry, but you wouldn't have had that crossover. Because the mindset now, although I don't want to admit it, because we'll always fish for gold, but the mindset is now a medal's a medal. Which, when you've been top, is very hard to take.
How big or how strong is the expectation for England teams to win world events
it's
now?
Massive. It's massive because the supporters don't know anything else. They don't see what we've seen. They haven't seen the last what we're into now. They haven't seen the last 15 years of my career. How everything's evolved, how everything's developed. People at home don't, like I've just said to you, half the countries didn't have a level seat box.
Is that gold in Gent and the last one that the feeder team won?
Yeah.
Which is how many years ago now?
Gent was 2015. So
9 years ago. Nearly 10 years ago.
10 years. 10 years this year. So we've been on the podium quite a bit. Most times, I think. But we've not won one.
Is there such a thing as a good bronze or a good silver?
Yeah, if you're nowhere near after leg one, definitely. Definitely. Which we've made mistakes, no doubt about it. But if you come back from low down to win something like that, listen, there's factors where you can't win.
Like what?
So some of them are peggy. Some of them are impossible. Some of them you're basically not winning. A team might have it sewn up like the Germans did. If they've got the tactic, in a nutshell, it's about putting the right bait in your feeder, chucking it in the right place. If you've got the right bait in your feeder, you're chucking it in the right place, you've got the right hook bait on, it's game over.
You just simplified it there.
That's right.
I like it.
That's it. It's as simple as that. So those three commodities, if a team gets that, they'll beat you. Or they can beat you. Which now, because of because they're getting better. But that's as straight as simple as it is. You know, feeder fishing is technical. We spoke about depths, we spoke about distances, but those three things I've just said is basically feeder fishing in a nutshell.
Do you, in all this international experience you've had, and obviously you've fished a lot of world champs, even since Serbia 2016, have you ever felt under pressure, or do you suffer from nerves or anything, Adam? Because it's a big stage that you're fishing on there.
I'll tell you, I love it. I thrive on it. And I do, definitely. Nervous? Not really. Because I think when you get settled in, it's just another fishing match. Which is hard, isn't it? It's hard to... But we spoke about this earlier. You know me. I can flip my emotions easy. I can be the village idiot all the time, if I want to be all the time. But when the cards are down and we've got to do a job, I just change. So that aspect of me being able to do that, I think nerves don't even come into it. Nerves don't come into it.
Yeah, you fished a lot of big matches.
Yeah, but you've got that certain mentality, and because in a nutshell, it's fishing. And I tell you what, one of the biggest things I learned a long time ago, like I've just said, sometimes you can't win. Sometimes you can't. We all want to win. If you don't win because it's your own fault, which, listen, we all make mistakes. I'm the first to hold my hand up. There's no doubt about it. But when you're in the zone, it doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter who's near you. I suppose a lot of it's about catching the first fish, isn't it? Because, like I've said, I can always remember Tommy saying he's blanked in World Championships before.
That's an hard one.
Yeah. You imagine that. Imagine it being your first match.
Could end you. Could end your international career.
No, of course it could. But we're going back to the same thing here. I mean, you can't blanking you can't allow for, but we're going back to the same thing again, where Tommy took that away. Tommy took that away off me because he didn't want to put me in until I was ready. And the more you think back, the more I look back over my career, is that was the right thing to do.
I agree.
So,
what do you think the future is for international feeder fishing? How long are you going to keep doing the traditional feeder team? You've got the freestyle one now as well. Is it something that you want to do for the rest of your life?
I want to do them both.
For as long as possible?
Yeah. I want to do them both. Why wouldn't you? World Championships, this is my opinion with it all. If I could fish a World Championships twice a year, one a month, I would do. Because the buzz is second to none. You've got, what I have learnt is, when you come back from a World Championships, nothing else matters.
What do you mean?
You've fished the pinnacle of the sport, and when you come back, win or lose, you get into a... Yes, you must have experienced it. You're like, I've got to go ferry Meadows tomorrow. And I've always been, I get straight back on it. If we lose, or even if we won, don't make no difference. If we lost, or we get home, and we've not got a medal, the worst thing you can do is dwell on it. And I don't dwell on stuff like that. Which is why the calendar's right. Yeah, you want to smash everything up. Of course you do.
Throw yourself back into it.
Of course you do. There's nothing worse than, like, I don't know, for example, when we didn't win out in Portugal. We're on a boat for 30 hours.
Miserable as sin.
Yeah, just time walked me home. But you can't take that back home. You can't take that. You can't be like that when you get back.
I suppose it's like when you're tired and you've got to get up early in the morning, the worst thing you can do is turn your alarm off. The best thing you could do...
Jump straight back up. Get your shoes
get
on.
out of bed.
Jump straight back up. Get
grab
your
a
shoes
coffee.
on.
Go.
Get your shoes on. So that's how I work. And that, you know...
Let's talk a little bit more about some of these domestic events because, listen, we can't sit here on this podcast and talk about everything you've done in the UK. We'd be here for longer than we were with Jan van Schendel, which for a long time.
Yeah.
But there's a couple I want to ask you about because I'm just so intrigued by what you did to win these events. And first one's Feedermasters. You've won that event twice. Massive competition. And am I right in thinking you're the only person to have won it at both the final venues it's been at?
Yeah, there's only been 2 venues, obviously, Bow Beach and Tamar.
Tell us a little bit about those wins. I mean, I've never even seen Bow Beach. I remember you winning there, somewhere I've never been.
Bow Beach is one of them places that it just clicked. And the more that I look back in the past about it, because obviously being in mind it's in Kent, you know, it's arse end of country. It's 3.5 hours from my house. And I can always remember I never bothered to qualify for the first Feedermasters. The first ever one, I was like, nah.
Why?
I don't know. I ain't got a clue. Can't answer you that.
Just didn't fancy it?
Just didn't fancy it. And I went down on... might have been for one of the qualifiers, I think. Or I went down for the practice match. Can't remember, but I went down. No, I went down for the practice match. They were one. That's right. They were one short for the practice match on the Friday. So the first year run, I never bothered, and I thought, and there were one place left, and I fished just to put the bait in the peg. Do you know what I mean? So they didn't have an empty peg because some bloke couldn't make it, and I regretted every minute of it. Not trying. I hated it. And that next year, obviously, I busted up. So Bow Beach was one of them venues where massive, you know, just style of fishing. Loved it. Grew up on big reservoirs. You know, when my dad used to take me fishing, we used to go back Attenborough, gravel pits, used to go Butley Res. We used to do old school bream fishing. That's what we did. That's what I did for the first 4 years of my life. So I wanted to get there. And obviously we did quite a bit of... When I got in the final, there was quite a few matches on, pairs matches and that. I fished with Steve. I think there was 2 pairs matches and a Lee won that European friendly, if you remember. And we won both pairs matches, and I won the individual on that feeder week.
You must have had something sorted at that venue.
I did, but you know, when I look back now, not knowing, because I didn't know the venue, but when I look back now, Bow Beach has got a nasty habit of these areas of fish. They're in 3, 4 and 5 peg areas. And if you look, the same areas of Bow Beach, not the same peg areas, 4 or 5 pegs in this area. And when I look back now, I drew absolutely bang on. Every time. Yeah, every time.
Fair play for saying that.
Bang
I think
on.
People...
No, because what it was so obvious but the areas were right. But obviously, you and I was confident. You got to do it right. But I did draw those areas every time I went, like in front of the oak tree, second set of steps on the dam wall, the middle of Woody's Point, blah, blah. It was just obvious because they won all the time. But the problem was you never knew because Bow Beach isn't permanent pegged.
Got ya.
So it was no good going on peg numbers. Waste of time. Excuse me, because everybody pegged it different or started somewhere different or had bigger gaps in between the pegs. You know what I mean? It weren't permanent peg. I think I qualified at Barston. Yeah, Barston, I think it was. And obviously in the final, I put all this effort in. And went, and there was... What happened were, I can remember, I was going through a period, which I do a lot. When I'm not feeling it, when I'm not feeling when I think the cards are down and I'm not feeling, I always have the last peg.
Okay.
Because I'm a massive fate. If it's meant to be, I'll win. And I was in one of these periods, and I don't do it all the time. Used to do it a bit at White Acres. Always that last peg in bag. Because 9 times out of 10, you know as well as I do, if there is a last peg, it's always a good one. A lot of the time. And on the Friday was the practice match. And I was in one of these moods. And I'd just laid on the sofa, had a cup of tea, chatting to everybody. Next thing, come on, Waco, you drawing? Is it last one? Yeah. Poured it out, 41. Thought, said to him, where's that? Second peg round Woody's Point. Oh, sound. One of these areas. Fished away, won the practice match, £27. 27.10 it was. Remember it. More importantly, what happened was that morning, and there's a couple of things about the wind that will pull this in. So that morning, I'd pulled it because you had to drive round to Woody's Point, and I got my rod bags out of the van, and I walked him down, and there was a bloke there fishing, a carp angler.
Yeah, specimen carp.
Specimen carp angler. And I've walked past him, just Waco being Waco. Hey, up, mate, you all right? Yeah, sound. Any good? No. Right, all right, sound. Walk back, put my rods on my peg, probably out now, 60 yards away. As I'm walking back, he's playing a fish.
Right.
I don't know this bloke. Never met him before. I'd look, if he ever watches this, he'll probably be chuckling. So as I'm walking past, his cart was like, and he stood up to his wellies. And obviously there's all the rumours about the fish and all that, and there's pictures and that, all of her. And I said, what's that then, the 40? And he looked at me playing this fish. He's gone, yeah. So I've looked at him, and obviously, listen, it's a lot to get one over me or to make me quiet. And he's gone, yeah. And I've gone, how do you know? And he's gone, because I've caught every fish in this lake, and not one of them has fought like this. So you can imagine what I'm like. I'm like, fucking idiot. Turned and walked away. This is brilliant. It's gold, this is. You can imagine, can't you? I'm like, silly twat. Walking off. Anyway, I've gone back, loaded the van up. This was like a 15, 20-minute period. I've come back, and he's like stood there. And I've gone, what's up, you lost it? And he went, no, it's in there. And I'm like, can I have a look? And he went, yeah. And I flipped this unhooking, this cut-up cradle back. There she is. The £40 mirror.
The one he said?
Yeah.
300-acre Bow Beach Reservoir.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I think we've got a picture of it, Toad. I think there's a big picture of it.
Listen, and if the bloke ever watches this, send me a message, because I was like, to witness, I've seen a lot of big fish in my time. I've worked on fisheries, I've run fisheries. This was amazing. And more to the point.
There you go.
More to the point, that kid, that bloke, has got him.
That's the moment. That's that fish.
Yeah, that's that fish.
I just love it how he's kind of had one over the most witty person in match fishing.
Listen,
what's that? The big one? Yeah.
Listen, I went like that. There aren't many people get Waco like that. He had me big time. So massive shout out to him. It was probably one of the most incredible fish I've ever witnessed. And I mean, look at that in the sun. So anyway, the main thing is I went back, won the match, £27, had a mint day.
This is only the practice match.
Practice match Friday.
Day before Feedermasters.
Day before Feedermasters thing. Next morning, I did the same again. I'm laid on the same settee, having a cup of tea. Everybody's buzzing, running around like they do. Waco just chilled out. Last peg in bag again. 41. 2 days running. 41.
Same peg.
Same peg. Last peg.
Don't tell me you walked past a carp angler.
No, thank God. It's the 50. No. Unbelievable. Everyone's like, you know. But listen, that's the power of the MPEG. Sorry, not the MPEG, the last peg. Won the match. £27.8. 2 ounces less than what I had the day before.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So you're 1 day in.
1 day in.
You've won the match.
Won the match. Not too far in front, if I remember rightly.
Is it on weight over 2 days?
Yeah, so it's weight over 2 days. Weight over 2 days.
Is this your first ever final?
Yeah.
The first ever time?
I think it was the second year.
Right.
Maybe.
Okay.
Not sure about that. I'm sure it was my first. No, it was my first final because I'd never fished one at Bow Beach.
Okay. Did you have something sorted tactics wise? Can I dig a bit here because you've won the pairs?
You can, but I don't want to tell you.
Come on.
No, not telling you.
Did you have something sorted?
If it goes back there, then no, I can't tell you.
Is it something different?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good, but there's a chance it might go back there one day. So
you're not going to tell us?
No, I'm not telling you.
So what you're saying is we're sat here doing a podcast. Matt Godfrey's trying to dig it out of you.
Yeah, but I know what you're like.
He gave you the look there as well. I saw that.
You're just blatantly saying I'm telling you
Listen,
nothing.
remember, I am the biggest poker face going.
Tell me
Better
how
than
you won Feedermasters.
No, I'm not telling you.
Come on, we've got to
No,
talk
I'm not
about tactics.
I just chucked it out and it went round.
No, you didn't.
Tell you what shall I do?
Did you really have some tactics?
Yeah, I've got this one thing.
You're going to have to give him something.
No, I'm not telling you.
Can you give us a clue?
No. I'm not telling you.
Is your gift going to be like the script of tactics from Feedermasters?
No, listen, it was just about being aggressive.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
Listen,
It was. Listen, hand on heart, it was about being aggressive.
Dominating
I'll
your
tell you what
area.
was massive. 4 mil pellets was massive.
What, as feed?
Yeah.
Or on the hook?
No, soaked. Loved them.
And not a lot of other people were doing that?
No, and sometimes you could just fill your feeder with them. But we're going back to the same thing. It's a carp venue. Why wouldn't you? There's plenty of carp anglers get on there.
Okay.
A lot of bait was more. I'll tell you what you had to do. You had to feed more bait than what you caught. That was probably the best way to explain it.
Okay.
If you didn't feed out, you didn't catch out. Simple as
Overly
that.
positive.
Yes. Because when you talk about what you'd feed and how aggressive you were, to catch £20, you won't marry the two together. The other thing was keep chucking. They just love columns. Because, of course, it's bottomless. You've got to send one down. You've got to drag one down with you.
When you say columns, you mean bait falling through the water?
You've got to drag the fish with you. Which is the same in a lot of fishing, let's be right. It's like loose feeding on a pole, isn't it? It's no different. So second day, it was my turn on the dam. You had a day on the dam, day on the natural banks. So Woody Point and Oak Tree in front of the sailing club and the dam. Next day was on the dam. The dam was like, I don't know, like lower, you were fishing for 20 something pound. Weren't overly thing. And I drew quite high up and it was good because it was shallower, I think.
Right.
So on Bow Beach, you walk round past the tower's in the middle. Further you go up that bank, it's shallower. And I drew up there. And basically, when you're just fishing and, I don't know, I'll put a few casters in this chuck. I'll squeeze it a bit harder. I'll put a window on. I'll put a cage on. I'll put 3 maggots on. I'll put a worm head on. And it was just like that. And I was catching roach, catching skimmers, caught a bream. I didn't have a bream actually. Now I'm telling you a lie. It became apparent there was small fish there. And I ended up never even, the tactic I've just told you to win day one, it didn't work. It didn't need to work because I was in position, pole position. I just needed to put fish in my net. I weren't fishing for £30. I was fishing for £15 to £20.
To stay ahead?
Yeah, because I've already got my weight. I've got my weight on the natural bank. Listen, if I chucked out long on the second day and it towed round with a bream, then it was game over anyway. But I didn't, and I just put fish in my net, and I just fished him and in between line, like we said, a nice depth, like we spoke about earlier, and just put fish in the net and went back through the same thing. Caught some roach, caught some skimmers. put the right thing on the hook. What's in your peg? Come the way in, they all thought I'd done. They not thought I'd won, because it wasn't. It wasn't like it's not like Waco's bagging. You know, it's not like that. It was ticking over. All of a sudden, I'm pulling out. I've got £18.
Winner.
Thought I got 12. Yeah, thought I got £12. Champiano, 47, 27. Yeah, 40 odd pound.
There we go.
£42, I think I had. 27 and 18. What's that?
45.
45. Might be 45.
£45.
Yeah.
Look at that. 12 bags of sand.
12 bags of sand.
Feedermasters champion.
Yeah. Trophies, mint. Loved it.
Happy with that?
I was, because it's same as anything, isn't it? Other than being world champion in your discipline, winning the best event in that discipline is the next best thing.
And that is Feedermasters.
Yeah, that's right.
12 grand, Andy, and all.
Yeah, he just
Sharing with Ringer?
did we share then? I think we did. Weren't sure it were off though. I think we might have done. No, I'll tell you what me and Steve do a lot of when it's stuff like that is I think, if I remember rightly, we have a sort of deal where if we're both in the main frame, it's a 50-50 split. If we're not, it's a percentage split. That's what we sometimes
20%.
do. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
just to pay, just ticks you over. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it were. I might get him £3,000, I reckon, if I remember right, something like that.
Lovely.
But the other thing is, this is the other main thing. A lot of that success, and he won't mind me saying it. A lot of that success was, a lot of it was down to him. Because like I said, we're travelling down, we're fishing pairs. He's aggressive. He's very good at that style of fishing. He's good at every fishing, but that fishing he's master at. And basically, we had something sorted. I had the pegs, he didn't. Simple as that.
Great achievement.
But that's the good thing about, when you're sharing with the right people.
Well, that's the first one ticked off. Great title to win in your discipline that you're fishing internationally within.
Yeah.
Must have been satisfying doing it. Talk to me about the second one. Tamar, different venue.
That was, I think if I remember rightly, that was 6 years ago. There was 6 years in between that and this. So 2019 maybe, I won that. Or 18, one at two.
It was before COVID, wasn't it?
But leading up to it, I think then it come off there. I think there was no more on Bow Beach then. I think it went straight to Tamar then. And bearing in mind, I've been in from that day dot, that was my goal. Let's get back in, let's do it again. Straight away. Ticket sales, didn't matter how I get them, beg, borrowed, steal. I was fishing.
How serious do you take getting the tickets? Because you're known for getting more than anyone.
I have to have a day off work.
You book a day off?
I have to have, I told myself I can have a day off. Cheers, Waco. Have a day off.
Go on, what's the tactics for getting most tickets?
Do
you have people getting them for
you?
Last
year we were in Tenerife. Me and Lynn's were in Tenerife, sat on the balcony. I've dragged her back from the pool. The best Wi-Fi is here. Make sure we're having breakfast. Middle holiday this way. Young'un's like, Emilia's like, can't go pool till after 10 o'clock. This is Wi-Fi hotspot. I've walked around. I've done my research in hotel in Tenerife. That's the best Wi-Fi hotspot. Be there before 10 o'clock. I've got a thing where I want the laptop or my computer to be settled. Into the it might not make no difference. Probably don't make no difference, but I want it established. So say like at home, like Feedermasters now this week, I switch it on at 8 o'clock. So it's
Warmed up.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've got your pellets in your catty ready.
That's the thing. Yeah, it probably makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. But in my head, I don't want. Well, if I don't get no tickets, computer ain't warmed up. What an absolute idiot for not doing that. So that particular time we were in Tenerife, and the whole holiday went on stop. That's how serious it is. I'm sorry, Lindsay, for that, by the way. Sorry. But you know, she gets the rewards from it as well, same as anything. So, so the ticket is very, very serious. I've got another mate who helps me, and that's it. Same, you know, I don't hide the fact.
It's there for everyone to do.
Everybody can do it.
Anyone can book a day off to get the Feedermasters tickets.
So basically, between then and now, I think I've had a fourth and a sixth, and I needed it this year because the previous 2 years I'd had no chance. You know, when I've said to you, got no chance of winning, that were the last 2 years at Tamar. The last two Feedermasters finals was like.
So you're talking 2022, 2023.
Yeah, waste of time. Look back, way down the bottom of the list.
Not had the pegs.
No.
Which is good to talk about. I appreciate you talking about that because people go in that event and think, oh.
No, but what happened this year was different because we're talking about not having the pegs. I didn't have the pegs. I didn't fish the pegs right the previous 2 years. This year I didn't have the pegs.
But you had the tactics.
I had the tactics and everything else went right.
Talk to me about it.
So
we're at Tamar.
Basically at Tamar, the 2 years previous, I've been right up the far end of Cornwall, roach soup. And what's happened is over the last few years, the roach have been... Because, of course, when you're talking about September time, in September, the weather's changing. And I found myself, the last 4 matches, I've been on roach pegs. But, it's so funny that I got there this year, and you'll be able to speak about this when somebody's here. I was walking round, and Alan was there with Sandra on the Tuesday. Me and Steve, we'd normally go we go down Tuesday night. I go straight from work Tuesday. We have Wednesday, Thursday for a jolly, Friday practice match, so on for the weekend. I'm walking around, and Big Al's fishing away, catching roach in that short. Looked all right, looked sound. And I'm like watching him, and he's, you know, he says, I can always remember, he said, "Do you think I'm doing this any good, Adam?" And I went, "Yeah, it's all right. I'd catch 2 to your 1, but it's pretty good how that is." Anyway, but what I said to him, I said, "Look, you can't win Feedermasters with them anyway. You can top yourself up, you can get in the frame, but you can't win Feedermasters." No, I've tried it last 2 years.
You said that to him?
Yeah, I said that to him. Can't win it, Al. You'll never win Feedermasters without skimmers. Those were the exact words that come out of my mouth.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Love it.
Because that's me. We fished. Where did we go? Can't remember where we went on the Wednesday. Thursday, we went in front of the polytunnel, just up the Cornwall. And...
When you said just up the Cornwall, you mean the Cornwall bank?
The Cornwall bank,
so
yeah.
So Tamar, Devon's one side,
Devon's
Cornwall's
far side,
other.
Cornwall's near side.
Got you.
So basically what Lee tries to do is you have... it's pretty much polytunnel round the Devon. And then above polytunnel to the top end of the Cornwall.
Got you.
For the split for the 2 days. The Thursday we went, I said, "Steve, we need to try and catch some big uns because what's happened in what I was going to do because of the last 2 years, I've drawn sort of no opers. I needed something else to do because if you just fish for roach, you'd have caught 10, 12 pound. If you just fish for skimmers, you'll get 10 bites, weigh 10 pound. Neither of them are pissy use. Neither of them. So I said, we need to catch something. We need a different way. We need a way of fluking, shall we say? Now, obviously, those that know Tamar, very, very rarely a big bream involved. Very rarely. There's some bream in there, and there's been some weights of them, but it's not that easy. So we went in front of the polytunnel this particular day, and it were absolutely and the reason we picked that because we were tanking it down. So basically, that polytunnel, you can stick all your kit in it. And I said to him, if it starts getting that bad, me and you'll jump in there and all for a kiss and a cuddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ringer's into that, isn't he?
Yeah, he loves it. He loves big wake.
Real touchy feely sort of person,
yeah,
isn't
he is. Yeah. And we had a good pecker in, underarm in, caught some fish. Obviously, the rule was 6 turns of your reel. That's pretty much what the rule was. Because of course, back for those that know Tamar as well, these people fishing half a top kit in the pole matches, and it's just the perch under your platform. You can see them. And we practiced the Devon on the Wednesday, and basically it was you looked under your platform, there were more fish there than there was in the lake.
Right.
So that was the rule.
To stop people lowering the feeder on the edge.
Because it's not feeder fishing. Not feeder fishing. So we fished the polytunnel halfway through. I said, so we started spotting some bait out. And I was just sat there and we were fishing away. And it were pretty, you could just tell it were, because it were going cold. That time of year is going cold. And basically I've chucked the hybrid out and we just sat there fishing. Anyway, Bart lost the rod. Laughing like out I am. His rod's like, bearing in mind we're fishing braid still on method. Which is something I've been doing quite a bit. Not braid all the way through, but normal braid shocker and method instead of mono feeder, braid mono feeder.
Got you.
Quite like it. Because obviously they're not massive. Your rod's soft enough.
Bit more on them. Bit more like...
Yeah, just... And if I'm honest with you, Matt, just makes casting easier. If you catch a bream, you got elastic in your feeder anyway, so it don't matter. Anyway, my rod's towed in. Managed to get the clip off. It's like... Because I'm like... And even... I've took the clip off and I ain't had time to flick the bail line over. So when it's like... Bing, 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 you know, letting the braid through your finger. You ever done that?
Yeah.
Twing, 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 twing. And I said to Steve, that carp that is. Big carp. He's like, yeah. Anyway, man, I don't know what happened. It just turned around. Bear in mind, there's all them bubblers in lake and all that. Obviously not switched on, so you could easily hit one of them. Because when it's been drained, you know that year we fished when it right down, there were pipes and bubbles, and you know the bubblers are in like tubes. Anyway, I've stopped it, turned it back. About 30 metres out, I've looked up, because you can see your rod, and I've looked up, and basically, all you can see is his dorsal fin of this fish, and it's just wallowing along the top. So I've done no more. I said, here, come and get it. I said, you're going to have to net this. He's like, Gil. I said, no, I'm being serious.
Is it a ringer?
Yeah, and I just got me 18-inch head. It's come up. I was like, that's big. And bearing in mind, we catch a lot of big fish. We good Boddingtons, good Boston. 20s are, 20, even 22, 23 pounds at Boston now is like, so what, average. This was the biggest thing I've ever seen. And I've caught my biggest fish then. I had one at Whiteacres on Nelson's that was like 28, 29 pound. That was some years ago. This thing was massive. Ringer's netted it. And I'm like, that's the biggest thing I've ever seen. And he's like, yeah, it's a good one. And because obviously, and rightly so, obviously Tamar pride themselves in fish welfare. I didn't want to, we didn't have no scales. I didn't want to keep the fish any longer. We took a photo of it.
Got a photo of that one, Tobe, I reckon. Big comment from Tamar.
So I've had a quick photo with it and slipped him back.
And how big do you think it were?
So this is the next thing. We've got back to where we stayed, the lodge, that night. We've been through all Upper Tamar's Facebook page. We both sat there like having a beer and a chat about the day and trying to find this fish. No sign of it on the Facebook. Bearing in mind they have carp matches on there, don't they? The mainline bait sponsor the carp fishing side of it on there. So we're flicking through Facebook, can't see it, can't find this fish.
Jesus, that's big ad.
Is that the right one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Right. So we just had that photo, slipped him back. His mouth was incredible. Look at him.
Big fish, that.
No, listen, Matty was the width of him was incredible. Right. So anyway, can't find him on Facebook can't, not a clue. Anyway, so comes the day of the practice match, Friday. That was Thursday. So Friday, the practice match. I'm up in the car park, loading my barrow up. Because obviously you like to get your barrow loaded up, so you're saving 20 minutes, aren't you, before the draw. This bloke come and taps me on the shoulder. And he went, "Are you the kid who caught that carp yesterday?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I think it's the Don." I said, "Can I be the Don then?" He said, "No, I'm being serious." I said, "Well, we had a look last night. Couldn't find it." He said, "No, you won't." And I went, "Why?" He went, "We stocked it in 2018. He must have. I don't know who the kid is, but if he's watching, he'll know. He's obviously a keen carp angler. I'm not too sure whether he used to work there or not. But anyway, he stocked it in 2018 at £36. Right, at £36.
Wow.
That said, it was caught the following week after stocking it, because they stock carp quite regular. Because I've caught them like £3 and £4 before. Because obviously, in the actual competition, if I'd have caught this, that counts as £5. That's Feedermasters rules.
Anything over £5.
Anything over, a bream counts, but any carp is £5.
Yeah.
Regardless of it, unless it's under 5, then it counts as its weight. So he's gone. It was stocked in 2018 at £36. It was caught a week later. Nobody's seen it since.
Never.
Nobody's seen this carp
Wow.
since.
6-7 years.
Nobody's seen it.
And that's the one. That's the Don.
That's the Don, apparently. Yeah.
That's
And
incredible, that.
I've done a bit of when I worked up in Lincoln at the holiday park, the fishery. There was a big specimen water there, and they were right. There was fish in there that a lot of the lads are the same lads who fish it, pretty much like the chap on Bow Beach, because the carp anglers know all the fish, don't they? They know them all. They know, and they've got the group of them. They know when they come out, don't they? They're all secret. And
Bit of a secret squirrels thing, innit?
So I know that these fish do disappear. So it was done to me, and every now and then I have a flick through. I'm sure when somebody catches that, Matt, it'll be all over Facebook, or be on their Facebook page.
Do you think that's safe to assume? Do you think that was knocking on the door to 40? If it's stocked at 36,
do you know?
It doesn't look 40, but you can't, like you said, you can't see the width of it. And
No, you can't see the thickness of it. But let me tell you, I mean, I'm not a small bloke, as we know, but that's passing me both ends either.
Yeah,
easy,
and the
innit?
mat you could see it like
30-odd pound easy.
Easy. But
If it's gone down in weight,
Yeah.
it's still over 30.
Yeah,
well, you can see by the size of the mouth, actually, can't you?
yeah. He said.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that this is the best thing. that was on one of Phil's new micro wafters.
What, like a little 4mm thing? Little tiny.
It's that big.
Don't tell a carp angler that.
It's that big. I mean, what's the chances? QM1.
Honestly?
Yeah.
What size?
10.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I'm not an angler, even I know that's nuts.
Yeah, that's nuts. Right, so anyway, that's the day before.
So that's day before practice.
There's a common theme here, isn't
Yeah,
there?
2 big carp.
So Bow Beach.
I never said a word.
Right.
I never said a word. But like you've probably maybe already guessed, there's quite a few things when I am like superstitious.
You are a bit. I never had you down for that.
No, you wouldn't do. You wouldn't do, because I don't. So I'm like, went to bed next day, practice match, drew one below the gauze bush. The gauze bush is the peg. No, I didn't. I drew 1, 2. I was 3 below the gauze bush. Great area. I was about the same peg Lee won the year before off.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great day, £32. Got linered to death by these skimmers. Drove me absolute bonkers. Was next to Big Al again. He was like pretty much the same peg where he was when I walked round. Told him we're never going to win with skimmers. Had £30-odd pound. Thought, yeah, great.
Do any good?
Game on. No, I think I was 4th, 5th in the match. Very close, but had enough signs easily to win. Went back, dissected the tactics. Didn't. The problem is with Tamar and that size fish, when they come in your peg, it was always something Des taught me, and I'll never ever forget it. And it always used to revolve around whiteacres and silverfish fishing, and I still use it now. When the fish are 8 to 12 ounce, they eat ground bait. Skimmers eat ground bait. And they're an absolute git to catch.
Because obviously they're eating powder.
Yeah, basically. They're filtering you. And I think we see it all, Croft. You know, we've both been fishing that league, and you get in like that. We've just finished that pairs this Sunday gone, and we mentioned it earlier. When you get some in your peg, you don't half get some signs off them because they're eating your ground bait. So
how'd you get around that then?
You tell me.
No, you're the guest. My job here is to get information out of you for the thousands of people that are listening.
I know.
So you better start divulging soon, else this won't be going live.
You need to put something in your ground bait to get them away from the ground bait.
As in particles?
Particles, I don't know, worms. You need to get them off the ground bait. And obviously that's what happens. If you ever look back to Tamar, when it's on, everyone's on pellets. That's it. That's why.
Because you can catch them on it.
Because you can catch them on it.
Because they're picking particles up.
Yeah, it's obvious. It's obvious now when you think back. It weren't obvious then. So basically, we had a tactic, sort of like I just said, cut the ground bait out. If we get a chance, we had a good chat on it. And so day one comes, and I'll tell you what I did. I weren't feeling the last peg. It's weird. I can't tell you. I thought I'm going to... And I only did it the other week at Medlands. Every now and then I get like a Stafford. I get a surge. And I reckon I went first in, I reckon. Or I was at the front. Mick, because obviously Mick knows all this, Mick Viles. And he's like, what are you doing? Because the other problem was then... if I remember rightly, obviously Mick and Lee started having the M peg, or the last two pegs, which is fair enough because they're obviously the thing. So if I can't have the last peg, I'm not interested.
You'll go early.
Yeah. Or when I'm feeling it. So I went in early and drew peg 11 on the Cornwall bank.
Is that any good?
No. Roach Bay, they call it.
Okay.
No, well, listen, it's not where you want to be starting your Feedermasters final campaign. I can assure you that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's day one. It's 2 days in it. That section, there's probably only 3 skimmer pegs in the 30. That's the quarry. Normally, where you find Frankie Garnacella.
Right.
So if you see him, then you're on some.
He'll be listening.
Yeah, he will be listening, and he can't deny it because he's there every time I walk past him.
He gets his milk delivered there.
He does, yeah, he does. So I always look at it and think, if I can come third on the bank, then at that rotation, third or fourth, if I can come fourth, if I can be the best weight after off the quarry, in that 30, I'm fourth. So off the field, I'm fourth. It's look and judge whether the other 30 catch more fish.
Mm-hmm.
It was flat knacker, the wind, as in flat calm. I say flat knacker, just flat everywhere. And up the Cornwall bank is sandy.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom sand, not rocky. It's sand. It's not shale. It's like sand and soft. And basically, I walked up 2 9-foot rods. That was it.
So you took?
So I took 2 9-foot rods. I've got 15 rods in back at the van. I've spent 10 minutes. I've took them all out. I've got 1 rod bag. I've got 2 9-foot rods. I've got a pair of sticks and a landing net handle. Done.
Mm.
That's the only way I can see him in contention. There might not be any roach there. I might not catch any. But that's the only way that I can see myself putting myself in a position for the second day.
Mm.
So I've
Quite
got,
a bold move.
it's the only move because I've already spent 2 years previously trying to catch skimmers where they don't live. We're going back to the same scenario about trying to, but your hands force. When you're in a final like that, you're like, I'll give it a go. And it's wrong. It's so wrong, it's unbelievable.
Mm.
And of course, if you ain't got them with you, you won't be tempted, will you? And I'm not walking back to the van when I walk up there, let me tell you, because it's miles, as you well know. And I sticked up at 8 metres, I think. 8 or 9 metres. Just flicked it out, I thought, yeah, that'll do. Stick it up, just in case, because sometimes you get them big perch, you have to take your clip off. So I always flicked it out, I thought, that's about right. Sticked it up. Started fishing, and it was black. With roach.
We're good.
Yeah, just a mixture. Going back to, and I just sat there. And what it is with them little roach on there, I think that, especially on that bottom, the bait stays there. Because the bottom's like this table. Yeah? And it were a case of, it were ridiculous. It was about a chalk. Don't get me wrong. Not, there were nothing big about them. There were nothing small about them. Same as any numbers game, as you know. You catch 20. You catch 20 an ounce, then you catch 5 that are 3 ounce. It's the name of the game. If they're all 3 ounce, you're flying, aren't you? And basically, it was just mint. Got my catch clicker down there. End at match 333.
That's ridiculous on a feeder. That's ridiculous.
333. I thought if I could get to 300, that's mint. And I got to 300 with like 40 minutes to go. Caught another 33.
That's some going feeder fishing.
And
some going pole fishing.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I think in right scenarios, I think the feeder could easily outfish the pole. It's quicker for a start. I know that sounds daft, and a lot of people will be like, "You what?" But it is. I'm
not blowing smoke up your backside, mate. But while I've got you on this subject, people consider you and talk about you as the best at small fish on a feeder, or right up there. Especially at Tamar, like he's the only one that can do it. He'll keep doing it for longer. What are give me 3 fundamentals of that kind of fishing that will make a difference, that you use to beat people catching these little fish on a feeder?
There's it's same as anything that's monotonous. There's always a better way. So you won't. The first thing isn't tactics, but it is the main thing.
And what is it?
You've got to want to do it. You've got to want to have 2 to 4 chucks a minute, which that's what it is in effect. 2 to 4 chucks a minute for 5 hours without doing anything else. You've got to want to do it. There's a lot of, we can talk to a brilliant face about it, but basically it's not for everybody. Same as a lot of methods are. So first thing is you've got to want to do it, and that's what we've just spoke about when I said to you that day I walked up the Cornwall bank with 2 9-foot rods.
You knew that's what you were doing.
I knew. I didn't want to take anything else. Although I'm quite strongly willed and I wanted done, it's just the added bonus. So you've got to want to do it. That's the first thing. You've got to know what a bite is. And what I mean by that is there's there's a lot of ways to catch the fish. And what I'll mean by that is you can pull them on, which we spoke about earlier in Ireland.
Dragging your rod.
You can strike. You can watch the braid, which on that day, that's what I did.
Because it's calm.
Now, let me tell you.
What do you mean by watching the braid?
Just watch the braid. A lot of the time, that day, I'd flick my feeder out and I'd just leave my rod in front of me and just watch the pimples of the braid. So when lines, you know, when you chuck out, when you chuck out and you tightening up, you've got your pimple from the feeder end,
Yeah.
and you've got your tip, haven't you?
The V's.
The V's, yeah, the T. So basically, when your line's properly sunk, they go like that, don't they? And then they go,
Yeah.
i.e. your thing sunk. Now, and it's about resistance. If your braid is on the top slack, the fish will look itself better because it's got no resistance at all. There's no resistance there. There's no resistance on your tip. If you are catching on your tip, the next thing is you need a soft tip. So I presume probably the next thing would be an half-ounce tip.
Yeah, really fine tip.
If you could get with less than half ounce, I'd fish with less than half ounce. So, but the particular day, what I'm going to say is I caught 330 fish, but I caught them 10 different ways. And I can't teach that. I can't tell you it.
But that's a thing in itself, though, isn't it?
No, of course it is, because that's taking it to the next level. There's different ways. And let me tell you, if I went to you, right, Matt, go on Tamar, chuck out, put your rod down, just when you think you get a bite, just pull it. Just pick all your braid up. It might work every single chuck that day. The next day it won't. And what I'm going to say to you now is, these are the two examples. So we'll go back to it. I've caught 333 fish. In my head at the end of the match, I'm sat there thinking, right, if these fish are an ounce, I think it's £20. I've got £20. But if they're an ounce and a half, there's £30. If they're 2 Oz, there's £40. Which they're in. They're not 2 Oz. So I'm sat there thinking, I ain't got a clue. I don't know what they're going to weigh. But they're my two scenarios. I'm 20 to £30, which is a massive gap.
And what did they go?
£32.
Some weight.
I was like skipping back down the Cornwall bank.
Winner?
No, not on the day. No. Frankie, what do you call it?
Jam and jelly.
Frankie Jam Jelly Tankerwang, whatever you want to
Tanker
call it.
what?
Beep. Our good mate, the Tank.
Yeah.
He was epicenter again. Caught some fish. Brilliant. I think Gaz Lambert won the other bank. But I was up there. I don't think I was even at top 3. But I'm in a position. I've caught £32 a bits. Thinking about it sensibly, there's quite a few. There's not many can do that. And it might not happen again. They might not be there. They might not feed. I'm going into day 2 being on the Devon bank. Now, on the Devon bank, you've got to be unlucky not to be on a skimmer peg. As I said, you've got the polytunnel where I caught the Don, all the way around, past where I fished on the Friday, round the bend, blah, blah. Anything, I always think, anything around the shed, the peeping Tom shed as I call it, that's on the Devon bank, anything there, back to the polytunnel, it's game on. Same again, didn't hang about, straight in the bag, 61. Just shook my head.
No good.
Couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Because it's took me 5 matches, and this is the be all and end all. It's took me 5 matches to get a winning weight to roach. Previous year, no chance. Previous year, no chance. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. At one time, it wasn't hard, but that's when Tamar roach were quite bigger. There were a few more of them, I think. So I've drawn 61, and I'm like... And the only hope I'd got, I just thought, I need to catch some small fish. again. Bear in mind, 61 was the MPEG. Same again. No, I'll tell you what I did this time. I put 1 11-foot rod in, 2 9s, 1 11. I thought I've got to have a go. As we're walking round, that Sunday the weather was horrific. And what I mean, it was windy. It was horrendous. And I mean horrific.
I can remember it. There was a storm, weren't there?
Yeah. As I've got round, because for those that know, I was basically on the bench peg round the Devon arm. You're in that little Devon arm. Not only did the wind miss me slightly, I'm not saying it was flat knacker because it weren't flat knacker, but it was better. Straight away, I've looked down.
Excuse me.
While I'm setting up, thinking they're not going to be able to fish on the Cornwall today. No one's catching any roach. Not a chance.
Too rough.
It was horrific. Blowing straight down it, horrific. So all of a sudden I'm thinking, if that happens again, Waco could be champion. There's a few other stories. Frankie drew brilliant by the jetty. There was somebody on the Gauls bush who'd got half a weight. And all of a sudden I'm thinking in my head, if it's meant to be, I'll flick out on the underarm and I'll catch. Now, to catch another £30, it would have to be an exceptional day. But I thought maybe 20 odd, I could sneak in. Worst case scenario. As it happened, everything boiled down to the first cast. Because if it was going to happen, that was the ticket. That was the golden ticket.
What do you mean by that? First cast, you catch a little fish short.
If that happens, it's game on. Sure as I did. 3 seconds into the match, got a perch. First hour I had 79.
Some going.
Flying. Giggling, I was. Giggling. Just fishing how I did the following day. Every single one I'm swinging in, throwing in the net, is a pound coin. An hour and 10 in, I've got 79. I'm like, don't do this to me.
Gone?
Gone.
Where? How?
Don't do this to me. I'm like...
So what did you do?
It dawned on me. When you fish on the Cornwall bank for the roach, as I've said, the bottom's like that. Yeah? The bait's on the bottom. Round there, it's full of shingle. It's rocks. Shingle. And I knew that. And then it dawned on me. Didn't know bait there. I'm fishing a little feeder, trying to catch some fish. I caught all the muppets that were there, but then the muppets weren't there. The stampers were there. I got all my bait, worms, casters, maggots, everything, and threw it all in my ground bait in the bowl. Within 3 chucks, I'm getting one every single chuck.
Did you put a bigger feeder on?
No. It was about baiting the feeder.
Party calls?
There was nothing there for them to feed. They were different fish, Matt. They were different fish.
It's all about the feeding.
Call it, listen, call it luck, call it whatever you want.
It's not luck.
It were frightening.
So you got this mix full of bait.
Yeah, Yeah, I got all my worms, all my pellets. It didn't make no difference what it were. I think I've just threw all the pellets I'd done. It was all in my ground bait. I just went like that. Because you only get one shot. I got nothing else. I weren't going to catch no skimmers because there's none live there. So what's the point? I made it work. I caught 288. Odd better burglar. Wenty, burglar, wenty, whatever you want to call them.
What's a wenty?
A perch.
Never heard of wenty.
Yeah, wenty, we used to call them perch.
Why wenties?
I don't really know, but it just...
Burglars, obviously, because it's got stripes on.
I don't know where wenty come from, actually, to be fair.
All right.
Might have come from PC. Pete Caton might have said that.
Rightio.
I caught 280, and then I'm sat at the end, but I knew something was happening because Joe was there. Joe was behind me a lot.
Joe Carers.
Yeah. And I'm digging at him. What's happening? And fair play to him. He wouldn't tell me. I'm like perch, roach. Few big burglars, odd big roach. Because they grub fish. They're different fish to what I caught the day before. If I'd have fished Sunday's match, same as Saturday. No.
Gone to nothing.
If I'd have picked up my 11-foot rod on Sunday, wouldn't be champion. But 99% of people would have done that. So, that was it.
What did you have?
I had 280 something for £31. And more importantly, I had to admit to Big Al that you can win without skimmers. Which, let me tell you, I got clipped round here for, I think.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I think you'll be getting a few more after this podcast.
Probably.
Spectacular days fishing. 2 spectacular days.
Unbelievable. I think I don't know, Toby, find there's a picture of my second net of fish and you'll see the odd different stamp.
Tamar Feedermasters, it'll be under Tobes. Have a look at these pictures, folks, because magnificent nets of fish on a feeder, 9-foot rod. These days that we're talking about.
It was.
I think you're the only person to win Feedermasters with 2 nets of fish.
Look. So I've got. If you look, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got eight burglars there that are all 4 Oz plus. You've got them. Look at that roach that's flipping. The one underneath it. Look.
6-8 ounce fish.
All of a sudden, you've got £4 there with an handful of fish. Which, listen, as you well know, when you're throwing them in the net, I'm not bothered what they look like. It's a number.
Great days fishing that, Adam.
Incredible,
innit?
But the main thing is, right, and this is the best thing. I've had 50 less than the day before, and weighed £1 less.
Totally different fish.
Different fish. Eaters is what they're called.
And it's down to that feeding, that change.
100%. If I'd have picked the 11-foot rod up, done. Finished.
Second time Feedermasters champion. Yeah. 15 grand this time.
Yeah, a bit more, yeah. A bit more.
How was it to win it a second time? Different venue, 2 different days fishing, completely different tactics.
I think it was more the way it was won. It was the because, of course, if you asked every single one of those people, do you want Waco's 2 pegs? Not one person would say yeah. And they wouldn't. I wouldn't. I was raging. I was absolutely raging.
Isn't it nice to think that, though? It must feel gratifying to think, I've drawn 2 pegs I didn't want and I've won the biggest UK feeder fishing event.
So, it was, like I said, there were two different ways of catching the same, not the same fish, but the same, you know what I mean? And listen, don't get me wrong, quite openly, the weather ruined 90% of them on the Sunday.
You need it to go your way sometimes.
No, of course you do. I've just had 2 years of nowhere. I've just had 2 years of not even being. I was on backside, inside at toilet roll. I was that far down the list. It was unbelievable. You know what I mean? If you pulled up toilet roll to the bottom, I was inside cardboard. You're not. I've not. You're nowhere near.
Think it had out to do with the carp?
Who knows? Hopefully I catch another one next year.
Ain't it weird that?
It's very weird.
You've had a big carp the day before the practice match on both the ones you've won. Do you think there's out in that?
Don't know, mate, but...
Are you religious or do you take it to an extreme or anything like that?
No, there's a few things I do that, you know, you think if you tow somebody, it'd be like...
Go on.
Well,
Give me one.
Take a prime example. One of the best venues that's very good to me is Boston. This is probably a good one. Whether it be Feedermasters, qualifying for it, whether it be, I don't know, this year I've won the UK there.
UK champs.
I qualified for Feedermasters there. I park in the same spot every time.
Really?
Yeah.
Which space is
I'm
it?
not telling you. and woe betide anybody who parks in there moving forward.
I was going to say, what'd you do if that spot's not there? Somebody's had it.
I've got a backup, don't worry.
What, tow truck?
Have you really?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
And you make a conscious effort, get there early, get in that spot?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? It's too good to me. So, it sounds daft, but if that car parking space was free and I didn't go in it and I didn't catch out, I'd blame the car parking space.
Park carping space.
Park carping, blah, 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 yeah. You know, just little, like I said about the last peg. You're not always feeling it. It's not, it'll change.
Of course it will.
And then next time I might not get that car parking space, so I'll park in another one. Then I'll win the match. Then I'll be wanting to park in that one. So it's daft really, isn't it? But that's what we do.
I could talk to you till we blew in face, and I could talk to you for another 3 hours about matches, match results. We don't need to dwell on every single thing you've won, fished, done well in. But one thing that I have got to sort of sum up on and ask is, your results are incredible. The last 2 matches you fished at weekend, you won both matches. I'm going to say the last year, I can't help but, Waco's caught another load again on Facebook. And before that, always been very consistent. Commercial silvers, what we've touched on. Incredible results, incredible consistency. An odd, massive weight of fish. 170 pounder skimmers a couple of times at Meadowlands. What I want to ask you to sum all that up is, what's the winning edge, Waco? What's the key? What's your angle that puts you in them positions consistently?
There's there's 2 things. One we've already touched on. It's time on the bank. Time on the bank cannot be beaten. Don't care what you're fishing, who you are, what you're doing. Time on the bank is massive. The next thing is called the coup de grace.
This is why you giggled, isn't it? I could tell there was something weird.
The coup de grace.
How do you spell coup de grace?
I ain't got a clue because I've never wrote it down.
What is the coup de grace?
I think you go K-O da grace, something like that.
Coup de grace.
The coup de grace, right? The coup de grace is the winning line. The coup de grace come about a long time ago when a great mate of mine, Pete Caton, everybody knows, we're really good mates. We spend all the time when we're fishing on the phone. Our longest conversation is 4 hours, 45 minutes.
Get away.
While we're fishing. It's one of them where you're like, you're talking along. And back then I was fishing tunnel all the time. And I can remember this particular day I was on Club 9, I'm going to say. And he was opposite. And we're chatting away like we do on the phone. And I could hear him. You know when you know someone's catching? What's that? You just caught one? Yeah. We do it now. I can remember this weekend just gone, I was talking to Ringer when we were at Allcroft. You got one? Yeah, because your voice changes. You're different. So I'm sat there and I'm thinking. Anyway, he's telling me, because it's obviously an open match, he's telling me that he's fishing across. He's on the other side of the lake. About an hour later, I never clicked on. There's an hole in bush, this big. And as I've looked through, you can see the margin of the opposite bank. It's just something's just caught my eye, and I've looked through this hole, and there's a Drennan pole cut going down the bank through this little gap, this big. He's on phone. I'm like, what are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm fishing. I said, no, you're fishing, you idiot. He says, I said, you're fishing that edge, aren't you? He went, yeah, I've just gone down there. And he'd been catching that edge for an hour and never even. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm fishing coup de grace. I said, what are you talking about, you pillock? He says, the coup de grace. So the coup de grace is either a winning part of your peg, or it's where you're catching certain pegs, which was a lot of tunnel. Say, I don't know, if you used to fish at like peg 7 on extension, if you fish 14 metres that way, there's a deep hole, that's where you catch them. That's the coup de grace. So going back to your question, and it always stuck with me with that, the coup de grace is the winning line. It's the line that you take a gamble on. I'll always gamble. I'll always roll the dice. No doubt about it. In an individual match, I will always roll the dice. That's my opinion. That's what makes winners.
Push it.
Yeah.
Feed a bit more.
Yeah. If you blow out, so what? Like I said, get back on yours. Try again next time. I'll always. You might not know where the coup de grace is until halfway through the match. But let me tell you, that's what it is. Whether it be top 6 out your hand, whether it be 40 metres on a little bar or something like that. Rycroft the other day, prime example, Rycroft Saturday, you've just said I won. I did. That went down to the coup de grace.
What were the coup de grace then?
Spinning round on my box, 14 metres, 6 metres off at bank. Same depth. Same depth we have caught here. There were 2 pots of my peg. One were that deep. Other one were that deep. That deep, all I did was up carp. I had 17 carp. Didn't have a fish in my net. After 2 hours, I had 17 carp.
That didn't count.
Didn't count. Don't count.
Yeah.
I've gone on this other line that's deeper because I'd left it. Gone in, caught some skimmers. Thought, right. What I'll do now, find that depth, spin round, dump it. Coup de grace. Won me the match.
Dump it.
Yeah.
Coup de grace. 1 minute match.
Simple as that.
I think you're going to start some here. I think that the coup de grace could become a household name in match fishing.
Yeah, and it's all down to Big Pete, my mate Pete.
Pete Caton.
Yeah, fantastic. But what it taught me was, a lot of time it fails. But if you don't try it, you don't know.
You're giving yourself a chance, Adam, aren't you? Of
course you are.
Giving yourself the best chance.
Of course you are.
Where am I winning?
You've got, and what I'm trying to say is, until you start fishing on certain, but like I said, certain venues, they're already established because there's a difference in the peg. When it's flat, you've got to make that decision. By
feeding some bait.
Or it might not even be feeding bait, fishing a different bait. Might fancy tapping pellets there. It's putting yourself in the winning position. If it fails, so what? If it failed for me last Saturday, so what? Not bothered. I'd have caught £15 instead of 18, and you'd have still won the match. But no, I wouldn't have won the match because Sean had £16. So it's like I've said, and I'll say it again. I'll always roll the dice in every fishing that I do, because that's what I do. That's how I am.
That's why you win so much, mate.
Well, you're no different. You do the same. You just don't call it the coup de grace, but now you do.
I'm going to call it the coup de grace from now.
I think everybody will do, but it's just you've got. But that coincides. There's 2 things. It coincides with time on the bank, which, listen, and I'll say it again, that is unbeatable. That is number 1 priority, because it's no surprise why and it's commitment. We talk, we started the podcast really talking about it, and we'll say it again. 30 years of 3 times a week minimum.
It's a lot of fishing.
It's a mass amount of fishing on varied amounts of venues all around the world. Every different discipline you can talk about.
And I'd like to sum that up by saying it's not easy to do. And it's everything that we've spoke about in the last 3 hours about putting yourself in a position, manufacturing your life, going above and beyond to enable that to happen, which you've done. And it's how we started the show. I think you're in your prime. You've got there through taking risks, taking gambles, damn lot of hard work, and results are showing it, and I think have done for a while and will continue to do so. Combine that with the tactics, the fine-tuning, the experiences that we've spoke about, and you've just got a deadly weapon, haven't you?
You put it all together, it's unbeatable. There's no doubt about it.
I've got some quick-fire questions for you.
Any of them rude?
We can make them rude if you want.
He says you watch every show. You should be prepared for this.
No.
We've started mixing them up.
Oh, that's true. We have, actually.
I've purposely, as I told you, not looked at any of the pre-notes because I think it's more better off the cuff. So fire away, let's do it.
Who do you rate as the best angler you've ever fished with, dead or alive? You're only allowed one.
Behave.
You're only allowed one.
No, we've got to be stricter with these guests.
Yeah,
Guests
you're
have
having
been
one.
taking-
You're having
yeah.
one. We can handle it with you. You're having one. We don't need to be nice.
Only for the varied amount of fishing, Steve Ringer.
What's the worst thing about match fishing and how would you fix it?
Worst thing about match fishing. Good one, that. Don't know.
That's why we put it in.
I know. I don't think there is anything. I try not to be negative. I'm going to scupper you now because I can't really answer that question. I try not to be negative in match fishing. I think there is a bit of negativity. And I think that a lot of it's unnecessary. I think Facebook's got a lot to answer for. I think Facebook is very, very good for a lot of things, but it's also very good for a lot of bad things. We can't get rid of social media. Social media, people live on social media. Social media pays your wages. But I do sometimes think, where would we be without it? Not sure. I try not to be too negative about fishing. So, as it stands, I don't... Like I said earlier, if people want to go carp fishing, go carp fishing. If people want to go... perhaps this is probably it.
I think you've come to it.
Yeah, I've just come to it.
And
That's
I think
right.
it's a great answer. Say it.
I think people need to just leave everybody alone. You can't... If you want to go... If you want to go and thrash the water to a foam and catch 400-pound F1s, crack on. If you want to go and catch 4 dumpy perch down tins on staying egg, crack on. If you want to go bream fishing, crack on. So basically, keep your nose out of everybody's business. That's probably the best thing to explain. Don't be judgmental.
Especially on social media.
Yeah.
Like it, Adam.
Yeah.
Great answer.
All right, sound. We got there in the end.
If you only had one day left to go fishing, where would you go and who would you go with?
I'd go to... Where would I go? I'd go to the Glebe with my dad.
Awesome. Like it. What's the most memorable next peg battering you've ever had?
We've just spoke about 30 years and not getting battered.
Which is why that's in the question.
Christ. Next peg batterings. I've only got a memory of a month, you know.
Listen, you are one of the best, and your results are phenomenal. I want to know one time you did get beat. What sticks in your mind? Or do you just erase everyone?
Get back on the horse. Told you that. Don't dwell on negativity. Don't dwell on batterings. Move on. Listen, everybody's here to get beat, aren't they? Everybody. I can't name a specific. I suppose when you get, you know, it's obviously happened when you on the international stage. When you get beat, that's what gets me back up more than anything. Because you've worked so hard, you've planned your year, you've got prepared, and it shouldn't bother you because probably it's not your fault. But as for one sticking in my mind, listen, everybody's here to get beat. I don't, you know, I don't care who you are, what you are. But also you might get beat by trying too hard. I don't accept now getting beat as... I don't blame anybody. I don't blame fishing. I don't blame the pegs. You know, you see a lot of that shit on social media. You're in charge of your own destiny. I might roll down the coup de grace and it not work. Cost me winning the match, getting battered. So what? Just move on. So I can't listen. But when the events are more important is probably the time. And I've been beat loads of times. Get beat all the time.
Also win a lot.
You just, like I said, you just crack on, don't you?
If fishing didn't exist, what sport or hobby would you do? If any.
I'll tell you what I'd do, more than likely. I'd probably spend all day at pub.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't follow football. I don't play golf. I think if I didn't go fishing, fishing, Matt, has got a lot to answer for. What I mean by that is it's a very selfish sport. It's very time consuming. It costs a lot of money. I think if I didn't go fishing, I would have projects. I think I don't know, buy another house, or I'd do something like that. I'd do something constructive. I say go in the pub. I was taking the Michael, but I would go in the pub after I'd done a bit of work.
Yeah.
But I'd look at a project.
Yeah, something high intensity.
Yeah, I would. I can't, you know, I sit and talk to people about this all the time. People who don't go fishing, I don't know what they do. What do they do with their life?
I don't know.
Could you imagine not going fishing?
No.
What would you do?
It's a nightmare.
What would you do if you didn't go fishing?
For me, I'd have to do something outdoor related. It'd be some serious walking, hiking, or some sort of races of some sort that involved mountains, outdoors, fresh air. You know.
But it's right what I'm saying. If I didn't go fishing, I would not have a clue.
Which is,
I'd be lost. Other than I'd have to chuck myself in. I'd have to chuck myself into something to take me to do, because I can't sit still.
Just think about all that capacity that fishing takes up in your life, and
Of course
that's
it does.
suddenly free.
2 and 3 hours a night, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Wednesday, whenever I'm going. It's a lot. It's a lifetime. You've lost a lifetime going fishing, pretty much. But it's what we choose to do. Love it. Would not change it for anything ever.
Did you bring a gift?
I did.
Can I have a look at it?
Do you want to see it?
Well, I don't know what it is. You've brought, I think it's a black
No,
bin
it's
liner
a bin
or
liner
some
down
sort
here.
of...
It's
I'm not sure if people believe we genuinely don't know what these are before the review.
No, I prefer to not know what it is.
Off camera, we were asking about the gifts.
It's nothing. I wouldn't say it's more relatable to this podcast.
Perfect. But yeah,
Well, that's handy.
it came in brilliant.
Because if it's not something relatable,
Kind
to
of the brief. You know, you've got to leave this with us, yeah?
you can have it.
We're going to have it. We've got a cabinet just
in our
there.
cabinet.
Do you know what it is yet?
It's like Christmas Day. Oh.
This, Matthew, pretty much sums up, like I said, what we've been speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first ever Whiteacres Silverfish Festival.
The first ever one they ran?
Yes. Which was the first year I ever moved down there. Garbolino Marcellus Silverfish Festival 2004, first place.
Winner?
Winner.
You won the first ever one?
Winner. There's a couple of resemblance to this that I just want to touch on quickly. Is that's over 20 years old.
Incredible.
Commercial silverfish fishing has been going on for 20 years plus. Because this was probably the front runner. I'm not saying it was the first. It was probably the front runner of commercial silverfish fishing.
I totally back it up. I think you're right.
And that basically just sums up what we've been talking about. So it was the first ever one. Won it twice more since in that amount of time, and it's still going strong down at Whiteacres. I've recently gone back. I had a bit of a break from it a few years ago, and then the last sort of 3 years I've sort of gone back and give it another go, and it's completely different now because it's silverfish fishing's evolved. You know, back then, that's when I'm talking about we were catching 40, 50, 60 pound a roach. Now I'm going down and we're catching 80, 100 pound F1s. Yes, you can say F1s isn't silverfish fishing, but the way fishing's evolved, they've had to move with the times. So, that's basically it.
That's a great gift,
Brilliant.
mate. That is so potent as a gift. It's not just a bit of you with what we spoke about and your time in Cornwall, but it's a first place trophy on a big festival, the first of its kind in a kind of fishing that I think you're phenomenal at, that we've touched on. I think that trophy says a lot. That's a great gift, isn't it, Tobe?
Brilliant. It's definitely going in the case, isn't it?
It's going on top of the cabinet with the other trophies, that is.
But bearing in mind, it's been all week since you said to me, it's been doing me head in. I didn't know what you're like.
It's perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, what do you do? And
That is a great gift.
And then I sat there and I thought,
that is a fantastic gift.
These gifts are getting really like...
There's some meaning behind that.
They're getting really good. But yeah.
I appreciate that. Or
Thank you,
we
mate.
appreciate that a
Yeah,
lot,
good.
mate. Thank
Good.
you very much. Listen, let me tell you something. I can't sit here and talk to you about fishing and everything you've done. You're going to have to come back at some point. I'd love to say that it's going to be when you win a world champs, whether it be team, individual, the Europeans, whatever it might be. I wish you best of luck with the freestyle, and I've got so much respect for what you do. As an angler, I've been aware of you and your fishing and your results from being a young age. One thing that sticks out in my mind is a feature you did with Tommy Pickering at Hayfield on floating pole.
yeah. That was
Probably 25 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been.
20 odd years ago. You had a CM90.
CM90, the red CM90. Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
it clear
yeah.
as day. Who's this kid
Yeah.
floating pole? I read
Yeah.
it. But what I'd say is, I've never had a chance to sit down with you properly and talk to you about your fishing and get stuck into your mindset. And I feel like the bit of time we had researching this podcast enabled me to do that.
Yeah.
We had a beer last night and a great chat, and I've absolutely loved however long this has been divulging about you, your fishing, your mindset, and how you go about it. Big respect for what you do, and I really appreciate you sharing some of them stories.
Like I said, I appreciate coming on, definitely. So thank you to you both.
No, thank you for
Will
coming.
you come back on if you get a chance?
Defo. Next week.
It was in the contract you signed anyway,
Yeah,
mate,
yeah,
so
of
it's
course you
already
are.
a done deal.
No, it's been mint, and basically I hope that people can take quite a lot from it.
I think they will. Adam Wakelin, ladies and gents, thank you very much.
Cheers, boys. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Matt.